There we go. Whoa.
You're on, Darla.
That's loud. I gotta turn my headphones down. Good evening, everyone. Are we ready to begin?
I guess so.
We're good.
We're all here.
Okay. All right. So we'll call the meeting to order at 7 p.m. First item, review the agenda for addition, removal, or adjustment of any items.
Any changes now?
Not that I'm aware of. The Vermont League of Cities and Towns is hosting the annual town fair in September, and they have the annual VLCT and PASIF and VERB annual meetings, and municipalities can choose to select a delegate, and in the years past, it's been me. But I don't know that I'm going to go this year, so.
Okay. Was it useful to go in previous years?
I think it was, so maybe we want to add that to the agenda, just as a just in case, as you go, and just vote to select or make me a delegate to the VLCT annual
Okay.
town fair meetings.
Where would you like to put that?
Could be other business.
Okay. You want to put that in other business, Darla?
Yeah.
Okay.
Making myself a note. Okay. So thanks everyone for joining us tonight. We'll have an overview of our Zoom rules. So if you are on Zoom, we ask that you mute yourself, which it looks like everyone has. So thank you. And if you'd like to speak either in the room or on Zoom, please raise your hand or and to be recognized by myself or someone else in the room if I don't see you. Great. So we have time for public forum this evening. This is an opportunity for citizens to briefly share comments and concerns with the board about matters not already on our agenda. Public forum should not be used for lengthy discussion or a new topic, both for time management and for the meeting to allow for the public to receive notice of the matter at a future agenda. So is anyone here this evening to speak about as part of the public forum? Anyone in the room?
Doesn't look like it.
Okay. Department head roundtable. We will start on the screen. Brett, we haven't heard from you in a little bit. What do you have in 5 minutes or less?
The only significant update I'll share with the board this evening is the black mold mitigation work at the fire station in the kitchen. The black mold that was discovered back at our July staff meeting. We hired a contractor who came in and did the mitigation work and took care of that. So that was wonderful. There's a pretty hefty price tag associated with that. So I asked to do a insurance claim, and haven't really gotten anything back from VLCT yet. The cost of this mitigation work shoot up the entire FY 23-24 facility budget line and then some. So, based on the the voicemail message that was left by Vermont Leagues of Cities and Towns, they insinuated that they weren't going to cover it. So I've sent an email asking questions and waiting to hear back. So more to come on that. But with that being said, I certainly would like to thank Joel Bouvier in particular and Kevin LaRose, Joel mostly, as he's done the majority of the work putting the room back together, retiling the floor, waxing it. He's probably got 15-20 hours into this job already. So thank you all for that work, because we can't afford to do it any other way. So that is all I have for the board this evening. Thank you.
Oh, come on. You got to have something else, something red and shiny. Yeah, woo. Does guess not.
No.
No.
Did you leave, Chief?
No, I'm still here. Sorry, I was on mute.
Oh, it's okay.
Nope, nothing else to share this evening. I'll try to put things in writing to you folks in the future. I heard early in the summer that department head reports were taking a little too long. So being sensitive to that, I'm just going to give you 1 or 2 updates each time and we'll call it good. So thank
I'm
you.
just asking if there's anything red and shiny that's been put into service.
Yep, the town's new pumper has been put in service. It's going to have to go back to New Hampshire though, as we expected for additional punch list items. And we're still looking to get the 2007 pumper to Bulldog over in New York. That's our company who built the truck for the body work from the damage that was done from the December storm. So we're just trying to coordinate all that at this time. So thank you.
Thanks, Brett. It's exciting to have the new truck there. Great. Let's see, Meredith, I see you. Do you have a report out for us?
Yeah, sorry, I just want to get my video on. So, everything is going pretty chill in the rec world. You know, we finished our camp. School starts on Wednesday. So we're gearing up for our fall programming. You know, Harvest Fest is coming up, so that's going to be fun and exciting. And then we'll do some Halloween activities in the end of October. Yeah, so now we're just getting ready to work programs around the school system.
Great. Thanks, Meredith.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And Jill.
Hey. I think the big deal at the moment is the Pine Street Waterline project. So
Absolutely.
the project has begun. All that's been done so far for work is pretty much just layout and cutting. And tomorrow is the first day that they will be digging. So tomorrow is the first day that I'm holding my breath. So we'll see. We'll see how they do. So that's one big part. What are you guys getting for feedback from the public? Are you getting any as board members and as others, other department members that are here?
Nothing so far.
Nope, I've only received.
Just from the neighborhood, it's way overdue and about time.
That's
when
good.
is my water gonna get shut off?
If anybody's gonna hear, it's gonna be Joel, because he lives right there.
That's what I figured. I just wanted to know if there was any positive or negative feedback yet, kind of what the pulse was so far.
And you did get my message about the neighbor said you could put the sign down by her garage.
Yeah, okay. I thought they put it there already. They still haven't, huh?
You got 2 posts up right now,
Good.
they just haven't got the sign, or Joel.
Okay.
You haven't got the sign on yet.
Okay.
That is a perfect spot for it because it's got a nice backdrop with the trees.
Yeah. And it's right on the corner of Liberty and Pine there. It's across the road from there, so, yeah.
Yeah. We won't be able to stay on for the rest of the meeting. So is there anything else that you guys wanted to go over while we're here?
I think so.
I don't think so. You're free.
Doesn't sound like it, Jill. Sounds like you're free.
Okay. I just wanted to check in. I'll stay for the rest of the department roundtable and then I've got to head out.
Great. Thanks, Jill.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jill.
I feel like I heard Eric in the room. Eric, do you want to give us a quick report?
He left. Let's see, upper notch is pretty much done as far as repair work goes from the flood. Lower notch is probably 80% done. We still got Lincoln and Briggs left to do. Let's see, new loader came today. Boom mowing has been done over the guardrails and stuff, and that's going back tomorrow.
Looks like you did the line painting.
Oh yeah, did all of it, well, not all. The crosswalks in the village are all done except for we got 5 left to do, 4.
Yeah, good. Thank you.
So, and then that'll be done.
Did
Hopefully
you
finish
mention
them
the
up.
tours with the FEMA people?
Then I did the tours of the FEMA people today, showed them well, they only wanted to see what we had left. Which was Lincoln and Briggs, so that's where we went.
They don't care about the stuff that you already paid and fixed for?
Nope, all we're gonna do is turn in the invoices and stuff and done, so they didn't care to look at that, just wanted to know the stuff that we haven't touched yet.
We had very encouraging feedback from the hazard mitigation people. So there's a pretty good chance that we'll be able to qualify for hazard mitigation reimbursements.
Yeah.
Great.
That would be good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's great news. Great. Anything else, Eric?
No, we started back on our 9-hour days and 4 hours on Friday this week. So.
Thanks. Is Bruce in the room? I can't tell from my screen.
Yeah, I'm in the back.
Hey, Bruce.
Wednesday is the first day of school.
Ooh.
So we will see an increase in pedestrian and vehicle traffic, especially during arrival and dismissal. So I just want to remind people coming through the former village that we will be strictly enforcing 30 miles an hour.
Will you still be doing the, at the elementary school?
As long as we're available, yes.
Okay.
We will be at full school.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Is there anyone else in the room?
No, I think that's it.
Nope, that's it for department heads. Okay. Great. Thanks, everyone. All right, moving on. I have on the TA and from the there are two different item number 4s, Val, on from the TA report and from the agenda. So one is public hearing continued water sewer district annual meeting.
It's just a public hearing for the dog ordinance.
Okay. Okay, let me zip past that. That's because I've got the wrong TA report up. How about that? Okay. So do you want to, we have folks in the room I know that had a dog issue, and sorry, without my notes right in front of me, I'm blathering a little bit. But how do we want to proceed? We need folks to tell us what happened.
Well, I think Chief Nason had a good suggestion that we follow the protocol of making sure that all witnesses are sworn in.
Okay.
And how does that happen?
Yeah.
Somebody has to ask the question and we say yes.
Well, so like, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and stuff?
Yeah,
Would,
got it written here.
would the chair do that, or do you want to do it? Or?
No, I'll be presenting testimony,
Okay.
so.
So I guess, Darla, that's your opportunity.
So do we just ask it as a blanket statement to if folks in the room?
Michelle's got a statement.
I got a statement, so whoever's
Okay.
gonna testify, I can swear them in.
Okay, would you do that on my behalf, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Or I can take a picture and hand it to you.
Okay.
So I'll probably present an overview first.
So you're gonna do first.
Okay.
Do you want me to swear you in there?
Yes,
Okay.
please.
Do you swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth under pains and penalty of perjury?
Yes, I do.
Please state your name for the record.
Bruce Nason. All right. Want me to stand? Sit? What do you want me to do?
Here.
Sit.
You're gonna sit here.
I was hoping to stand and hide behind you.
Yeah. That's right.
Ah,
You should set the ring.
He just wanted to get away from me.
Okay, so the Bristol Police Department received a voice message on August 1st at 5:40 p.m. from Katie Clark reporting her neighbor's dog came onto her property and attacked her dog while it was tied up, causing puncture wounds to her dog. Her 18-month-old son was outside with her when this happened. I listened to the message and I forwarded that message to Officer Francis Smith, who was working at the time. He contacted Katie by phone. He explained the process for completing a complaint. She was taking her dog to the vet. She would call Officer Smith back to schedule time to meet. Officer Smith received an email from her on August 9th with a completed complaint form for the August 1st incident. He then went and met with her at her residence, and she showed him where the incident took place. She also shared with him that the dog, let me start over. The dog that attacked her dog was a German Shepherd. She was holding her child when she separated the two dogs. After she separated the two dogs, she said Tabitha Coe came over and removed the German Shepherd, apologizing repeatedly. Then Katie and Dylan Ryan stopped to the police department around 6:30 that night and provided sworn written statements. Contained within the statements were previous incidents where the same dog had entered their property around the summertime of 2022. They didn't have exact dates, and none of those incidents were reported to law enforcement, those previous incidents. On August 15th, Officer Smith checked with Bristol Town Clerk to determine license status for the dog, the German Shepherd. There was no license for any dog at that location, but a dog license was issued on August 7th for the German Shepherd. The owner reported in the license as Haley Ross, and it also shows the copy of the rabies vaccination. The dog was vaccinated on August 1st, 2023, which was the day of the incident. So Officer Smith issued written warnings for license required and dog at large. When he went over on August 15th, no one was home, so he taped them to the door. And that's what we have.
Thank you, Bruce.
Thanks, Bruce.
Haley is here and Tabitha is here. If either one of you would like to present information, you can. You're not required to, but if you do, you come up and you'll be sworn in.
You ready?
Chair.
I just don't have the camera. Okay. Do you swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth under the pains and penalty of perjury?
I do.
Please state your name for the record.
Haley Ross. This incident did occur on August 1st, but yes, she did have a veterinarian appointment. And when we got back, like obviously she's been at the appointment all day. She's been antsy, whatever. I decided to get out. I opened up the door, she bolted out, yes. She got loose, she had a leash on. I immediately ran after her. My mom didn't receive her, I received her. And I was immediately there. I did apologize. She's never done anything like this before. I didn't expect it to happen, but I was there.
I think they got the people mixed up, is what I think.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Does anyone else want to speak in regards to this?
Okay, that's good.
I don't know,
You don't have to.
I just don't know what other instances that they're talking about as first.
That's what I'm confused too. Like, yeah, she's gotten loose before, but she's never showed any aggression. Like, she's always played with other dogs. I've always had her around dogs. She's very social, playful. So, like, it is really her first incident. And we do have a letter stating, like, yeah, she does have to be rehomed or whatever.
Well, I think it's because I was late on showing proof. I had to get that, but.
Oh, well, I don't know how that works.
So I'm just confused with the damage that supposedly the dog did a year ago, or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think that particular incident is in question now.
Right.
That's just
It's the most recent, but it seems like that was,
information.
yeah, that was additional information that was given
Okay.
to the police officer.
I have a question on that. Bruce, the officer, Chief Nason said that Katie Clark had told Officer Smith that sometime, they didn't have the dates, but sometime in August of 22 that she had been running the large.
She said summertime of 22, Katie Clark.
That's what I don't get because.
And Dylan also indicated that the dog had been over at the yard. They both got sworn written statements, so I believe you have copies of.
Yeah, so, and then you said it never attacked or before, or just never run at large like a year earlier?
She
That's what I'm
never
trying to.
ran at large. Like when I saw her run up to that dog, she was actually wagging her tail like happy dog. And then I don't know how dogs' minds work. I'm not a dog, but I don't know. She could have maybe felt threatened somehow. I don't know exactly. And then a reaction happened. But she's always happy going up to a dog.
But you can't state that she could have, when you take her out of the car and run quicker in the house, she could have wandered over to the neighbors and come back in December of 22, which you're not 100% sure that she did. Could have gone over to the neighbors, but not do anything vicious, but could have.
I never heard anything. I never even, like, this never came across me before. Like, she's never done this before, as far as I know.
Chief, do we know what, it doesn't really matter, just, she said Katie was holding her baby child, didn't say what the age of the child.
18
months. 18 months, I'm sorry if you didn't say that, I didn't get that, okay.
Okay, how long have you had the dog?
I've had her since she was 3 months old.
And how old is she now?
She's 5 years old and
The same residence.
June, July, August, in 3 months, yeah, 5 years and 3 months.
At the same location?
The same location?
No.
What?
No, you've been with the 5 years.
My
of the
daughter
dog.
had packed up and moved away to Ohio.
Yeah.
And
We've
then
been
she
to
had
Ohio.
came back, she ended up divorcing her husband.
That's another thing. I came back and like my dog was with Natasha because I lived in Richmond for a while and she's been there. And I came back.
So how long has the dog been at?
About a year.
About a year, okay. Thank you.
So like, yeah, I love it.
I was hoping these two would find a,
Yeah.
you know, having trouble finding a place to live. I was hoping.
We're working
They have
on it,
the,
but like.
She's
the
my
sweat-
daughter.
The swearing in and who you are.
Right.
Sorry.
Mhm.
You know, it's just-
Go up there and swear if you want to talk.
I don't know what I'm talking about, but I guess I'll just swear it.
Then we have an official record.
Yeah.
Do you swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth under pains and penalty of perjury?
I do.
State your name for the record.
Tabitha Co.
Okay, so the dog's been there, you said a year?
Yes,
About-
felt like, yeah, I guess it was 2022.
And this is the first incident of the dog
As far as,
getting loose and actually a
Yeah,
physical alteration
yeah.
occurring.
yeah,
Okay.
And
And
nobody's complained to you before now?
No, nobody's complaining before, nobody's talked to me, like,
It sounds like they're just trying to state that the dog has been
Yeah.
there before,
Yes.
which is
yeah,
So
definitely a
I
possibility.
can also add that previously, in 2022, when we've been over there for other incidents, other neighbors have mentioned, but nobody has given us official complaints, that that dog has been seen running on the rec park field, or rec club field. But because nobody gave us any official complaint,
but my
and
daughter,
we didn't witness it, there was no follow-up.
okay.
So the ordinance is pretty clear about being, I'm sorry, I'm talking back to you. The ordinance is pretty clear about dogs being leashed or under your control when they're not on your property.
right.
And I'm not what exactly are we after tonight?
Well, responding to this complaint, we also have the vet bill that we received a copy of.
Now I want to talk about that in a
I
minute.
am willing to pay.
We
can.
We can?
We can.
'Cause I
We
don't
can
know.
require, or we can require or request payments to the injured party.
I definitely can't pay a full amount. I am struggling massively with money, so it will definitely take me time, but like, I am willing to pay it.
So then the other issue is the dog running at large. The ordinance states that you have to be in control of your dog when it's out, either leashed or hooked.
Okay.
And what we've done in the past is, we've issued a warrant for if the dog gets loose again, we issue a warrant for the dog and we take the dog. And that's the way we handle it straight across the board. It's not something that.
The ordinance also allows for fines. There's, the warning is the first offense, a fine for the second offense, and then a larger fine for the third offense, for running at large, and for any violation. But it's true that the select board has taken that stronger approach when there's been a violent or an aggressive aspect to the situation.
I mean, we've also worked on incidents where the dog, we've asked owners to have the dog contained in a certain way, either fencing or with leashing outside, even on the property, to prevent the dog from going over to another property as well. You know, each case we look at individually, but there are certain sort of higher level things because of the incident that we need to look at, I think, first. You had a question about
The bill?
the bill?
Yeah, no, I mean, my only comment on the bill is that they gave her a rabies shot. Well, her dog would have needed a rabies shot anyway, so I don't think we can ask her to pay that. So to me, this bill needs to be 175.12 if we're gonna do that.
But who's rabies shot? The rabies
dog
shot
that was
got bit? Or
Clark's dog.
her
I
dog
thought
had-
their dog got a rabies shot that morning.
Well, she might
My
have.
rabies shot got that morning, yeah.
So that's what I'm,
Yeah, no, this is Katie's dog who they took to the vet.
well, she hadn't had her
bill.
shots either.
Well,
I'm just,
doesn't appear to be, but I don't know that. I mean, they may have given it to her early, but she still would have needed it, so I don't think we can ask her to pay for that when it would have been something that had to be required
Right,
anyway.
it's required by us.
I know she
It's
said
not-
she'd gone, the German Shepherd had gone to the vet that morning to get his rabies shot.
Two different dogs.
Okay, I'm not seeing the bill, that's all.
We have no one here representing Katie
No.
this evening, is that correct? And do we have any specifics from her? I know that in past incidents, we've had people who've had issues with other dogs have had specific requests of
I
us.
haven't heard anything more
Okay,
than what
we
we've all
just
received.
know the incident, okay.
You have required other dogs to be on a muzzle if you felt that they were, they could.
Right.
A threat.
So I mean, you have those options.
Right.
Controlling the dog.
No, what?
Heinsberg Teens wants to buy it.
Do you have the option for leashing the dog on your property in terms of like a run or something like that, or do you have fencing, or is it an open?
I was gonna I need to buy one of those like long like leash thing that puts in the ground or something, but I was gonna get right onto that.
Okay.
I was thinking about that anyways, like I even been mentioning it to Andrew lately, and it's like, it's just, haven't gotten to it yet.
Okay, and you plan on keeping the dog?
I'm hoping so.
Okay.
I'm very hoping so.
Okay.
She's a good dog.
Okay.
For the most part.
Well, as long as as long as the dog isn't seen running at large and you keep it leashed or hooked when it's out, I don't see that as an issue.
Yeah.
Right.
We have to get a muzzle like he said, then whatever.
I know.
Willing to go that far too.
And depending on where you are, doesn't really matter where you are, but also, when you hook them all, they could bark constantly, and we have to deal with that, so that's
Unfortunately, when the dog barks is when people are walking by on the sidewalk. I had put a board in front of that bedroom to hopefully stay shut, so she doesn't bark at that window. So when people cut through my yard, she barks. That's a natural defense of a dog. I deal with my neighbor's dog jumping on her window all the time. If I have to block the front window, I guess, if it's bothering my neighbor that much, I'll figure out a way to do that.
Well, they're not making that.
Right.
He was
We're not
just
right.
making a
I'm just
statement
saying.
that might be.
A normal dog
Last one we had
barks.
was
Sure.
a dog bark constantly.
She does not bark, she doesn't
That's
bark
what I'm just
constantly.
saying.
No. I don't allow my dog to bark constantly, and I do get after her when she is barky.
She
I mean,
typically
if I
barks
have a
one or
dog,
two times.
you know,
and then
if
she
someone's
shuts
breaking
up.
in my house, I want the dog to bark. You know what I mean? But if
No,
the dog's
absolutely.
barking for nonsense, I get
Yeah.
after my dog.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
know.
and again, that's not in question here in terms of that, so. Okay.
Okay.
I'm not happy this incident happened, I'm really not, because now I have neighbors that are very uncomfortable with me and mad at me and whatever, stuff that I didn't ever want.
Right. No, it's, I mean, it's, incidents like this
I
are
mean,
always
I
tough.
get their, you know,
Yeah.
they're protecting their child, they're protecting their dog, I get it, you know, it's just.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I agree with her, I think their dog, out of its own offense, probably got aggressive, like growled or something, and then maybe is like, you know
Territorial,
what I mean?
it's their
It got
property.
territorial with its property, and then Mabea was doing what dogs do when they just react stupid
Yeah.
like that, you know what I mean? Yeah,
Yeah.
we are in the wrong that the dog ran over there, and like we said, we're willing to pay the vet bill as far as our responsibility for pet bill. I don't wanna pay for their rabies shot, that's not my business.
Well, thank you for coming in, and I appreciate you taking responsibility the way that you did. That says a lot, so I really appreciate that.
But yeah, we're gonna be a little more tighter on them this time.
Dogs are like family members, we understand
That's
that.
right.
Yeah.
We can't have,
Trust me, I get after her every day, bad girl for running away.
Okay, so board
Cause
members,
me
what
trouble.
are we asking in terms of, what are we leaving, or what should we
the,
have them take with them for this evening?
That's the way the ordinance in town, that the
Right,
dogs
it's gotta
have to be
be
hooked,
leashed. It's
leashed
gotta
or
be
hooked at all times
when it's out.
when it's out.
And
Or
then if,
fence.
if another incident happens, and I hope it doesn't, what are we looking at then?
Sounds like we have the option of a fine or, as Speaker said, seizing the dog, depending on the severity of the next incident, if there is a next incident.
We don't want an next
We
incident.
don't want
I
to, to be honest with you, I know there's leash laws and whatever, but Haley has taken her dog over to the field to play. So, I mean, I guess,
on the leash.
you know, I guess we won't, you know, in that.
This
that-
dog parks, I could go to dog
I think
park.
She
control
was-
is really the
she
factor.
was-
Yeah.
You know, when she was caught, like, in running the field, she was playing with her. She was with her dog. It wasn't all the time running loose over there.
There's a lot of dogs that run loose over there.
There is a lot.
Because I see
Feel
them in the- I see them in the morning.
I go to work this
Yeah.
morning.
Okay.
So are you making a determination that she's gonna reimburse for the vet bill without, minus the
Minus the rabies
rabies
shot.
shot?
Minus the rabies shots. That was the request that I heard.
Well, I don't know if they didn't ask for reimbursement, we can
Yeah, I
make that
think they
decision.
Yeah, well,
Okay.
it says here,
They did in their statement, I think.
Yeah,
Did they? Okay, I must have missed that when I read it.
I actually read that.
Yeah.
Okay, so reimbursement minus,
So it'd be 175.12.
okay.
And who does she pay that to? Would she pay that to us? Does
No.
she pay that to the person directly?
Yeah.
Directly.
Okay.
Do you feel comfortable doing that, paying her
I
directly?
mean, I do, I just, I get nervous, but I will. It's my
So what
responsibility
happens if it
to.
becomes an argument of more, like,
I'm just like, gosh,
There,
Huh?
I would let Bruce just do it, right?
I'm not-
going to.
Could you do that?
Could I what?
Could you?
Pay the fine, if she gives you the money, would you pay the fine, is what she's asking?
We usually don't get into
Yeah.
the
I mean-
process of,
I think it would be
But-
good,
I mean,
it would be
Might-
neighborly.
might be, yeah,
Yeah.
expense of
right,
goodwill. and say,
or if
I'm willing
you
to
want
pay.
to have her
It's gonna be
meet you at the
tough.
station.
Yeah.
Yep.
But-
Did you
That's what I
hear Bruce?
thought. What?
Unless
You
you
can meet
say
her.
I'm
There's too
paying
many
for the
people
damage,
talking.
I
Yeah,
want the-
sorry.
Go ahead,
Rabies
Bruce.
shot.
If you would like to have her meet you at the station, and you guys can do that in the lobby area, then we can hear the conversation, but we won't be part of, like, saying
It's
you
okay, I
have to
could
do
roll
that.
balls. It's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you can tell her the select board said minus the rabies shot, so.
I could roll.
So if you put that in writing, we can get, I think Valerie usually sends a copy.
You sent
of
a letter
both,
to them,
And
okay,
they'll know.
so,
Okay.
I think that's a good suggestion, Bruce, to
Yeah.
just, say, can we get the Bristol Police Department, convenient of your time, and when she does, you let Chief Nason know that they wanna meet, we wanna meet.
Well, if she wants to go and do it, I think it would be, if
Neighborly.
she's willing to do it,
If
it
she
would be
willing to
better
do
to
it
do it
neighborly,
neighborly, yes.
so to speak.
Yes.
When we spoke to the other individuals, nobody had any hostility towards anyone. They were just concerned that the dog hit the other dog. That was the concern.
Yeah.
So I think neighborly, if they go talk to each other, it's not gonna be an issue.
Right. Okay.
It's a good learning experience.
Yes.
Yeah,
A good learning experience.
Like,
Dog too.
like I always said, you don't have to go to school to get an expensive education.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So we're
Thank you
good?
guys for coming in. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Adios.
Okay. All right. We're moving on to regular business. We have the Bristol Rescue Squad update for use of ARPA funds allocation, which Chief Elwell and Mark Holtz Robinson, are they present or online with
Yes, we
us?
are.
Great, come on up.
Grab a chair. I have to grab another one up.
Give you the hard chair.
Yep, well, he's the chief. He can
Right.
No, is that how that works?
That's how it goes. You know that, Peter. Come on now.
So I do have we put together just a few PowerPoint slides. I did email them to
Me and Darla.
you and Darla and such,
Do you
so
wanna make him a host, a co-host?
you could do that. I don't know how much longer my laptop battery is gonna
All right,
last.
I guess I can.
You wanna just bring them up?
I
I
can-
probably have it powered.
Yeah, and you can consider that entered into the public record, I suppose, as well.
What about that?
Yeah, that'll work.
Put a meter on that socket.
Are you on here? Let's see.
Oh, there we go, that'll work.
Oh, there we go, okay. So you got it.
Okay.
I'm gonna get rid of that
Oh,
now.
whoops, sorry. Forgot that we can see that.
Up top, right?
That's fine, yeah, I got it.
How you do it?
You in it?
There you go.
Get the IT part specialist.
Come on.
Come on. There we go. Okay, so, Chief Elwell, I'm Mark Holtz Robinson. I serve now as treasurer of Bristol Rescue, and we just wanted to give you guys an update with how we spent your money. Go ahead, next slide, please.
Hang on here.
Oh, I thought he was.
Beat the down, there you go.
So, back when the ARPA funds were first requested, we'd sent out a proposal, which we did, communicate with you folks. We did change a little bit for some training and, funds towards a new ambulance. The ambulance in question was a 2010 that we bought used. It was in need of replacement, had some suspension problems that we're gonna be looking at, $5,000 plus in repairs, after looking at it. And so we had reached out, knew the ARPA funding was for public health, and the impacts of the pandemic, so we put in for that request of 130,000. If you could go to the next slide for me. So this was the ambulance in question. It was only a 2-wheel drive ambulance, which for this region is not super effective. At the time it was purchased, it was really the only one available. And so we were looking at some different options and went towards a ambulance. Next slide if you would. Went towards a Ford Transit, which is a van style with all-wheel drive capabilities. The total cost of the vehicle is $164,000 before the purchase of a stretcher and cardiac monitor, which we do provide the funding details of on that, which we are covering the costs of. We did have to use the full $130,000 to cover that big chunk of the ambulance, as we were still paying down on our 2019 Ford 450. Though that does let us, instead of paying off more interest, it'll let us just put more funds towards future projects. and towards paying down that other ambulance, trying to be mindful of, you know, the funds that we receive in support of our operations every year. Thank you. This is the new ambulance. It currently has, the mobile radio was just installed last week, and it is fully in our station. We're just waiting on the stretcher to come in from the manufacturer, looking about 12 weeks. But we are excited. We are able to, as soon as we get it finished up with the state licensing process, we'll have it out and about, being able to use it at some events as well, just so folks can see it out and about, and check it out. These are the details. These are the Zoll cardiac monitor, which we purchased refurbished, just took delivery of that as well, at about 25,000, and then the stretcher will be another 30,000.
Don't hardly seem like enough.
Well, the power load system came with it. The system doesn't include the stretcher. That's another like 12,000 just for the power load capability, but that also hopefully helps prevent some workers' comp costs. And
I know it's handy when we assist you, it's handy.
yeah,
That's one of the
and
ones that power it up.
yeah, it does all of the lifting on its own, basically, using a hydraulic system. It also can help us on not calling out Bristol Fire as often as used to be required.
Where the heck were they when I was young? Stair chairs.
That's where the term brute strength came from.
So we just wanted to give everybody an update on it. Some of our future projects we're working towards that this will help us save towards. We have, there's been discussion of a proposed radio tower possibly in the future, as well as the training equipment. We'll begin saving towards that as well. And then we do need some station weatherization. We're hoping to get some grants for, just to improve on the temperature control and heat loss.
And there's lots of grant money out there.
Yeah, exactly.
That focus.
Exactly. So that's, you know, one of our focuses in the upcoming year, and then hopefully getting our parking lot we paved in the future, is making it freshened up a bit. It's been quite, I think it's been paved since it was installed. So
Just sealed.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we just wanted to say thank you very much. You guys really helped us out very, big time to continue our service to the entire community.
So what is your fleet now with this new one? How many do you have?
So we have 3 now. As soon as this stretcher is in and the licensing is done, that'll give us 3 fully advanced EMT licensed ambulances. In the past, when we've had 3 trucks, one of them has never had a cardiac monitor, so we've only had 2 that we can actually use at a time.
Yeah.
So this will give us 3 units. Our call volume has increased drastically, which is why we're trying to get more trucks on the road. We're also working towards, just did a couple of our first ones, interfacility transports to help offset some of the costs of EMS, doing basically hospital things like that, which is a main focus on this ambulance because of the savings in fuel.
Right.
Yeah, it allows us to better serve the community as a whole, because one of the other aspects of patient care, of course, is patients need to be able to get from a care facility to a hospital or vice versa, and we can now provide that service in addition to the emergency services that we provide for the entire area that we serve.
So how's the call volume been? And I live in the former village area, and so often hear the sirens, and it seems like I hear them quite a lot.
Yeah,
I mean, I know you're responding to a lot of different things, but
2021, we had, at the time, was the highest year for Bristol Rescue at 777 calls for the year.
Last year we were 936.
Yeah, last year we grew to 936 calls for the entire year.
And we're on track to break 1,000 calls for the year, for this year. By the end of this month, we will likely have 100 calls just for the month of August, which is another record for us.
And you'll separate out the calls versus the transport.
Yes,
when you're looking
correct.
at call
Absolutely.
volume, yeah.
Yep.
Are you gonna be doing transports from hospitals home? Because I know some.
We will, that's one of the things we're hoping to do as we get up and going, is not just in our facility, but also facility to residents as well.
So do you guys have a contract now with Porter?
We won't have
Wellington, or-
specific contracts, so like, I was told Porter Hospital apparently has a contract with Middlebury.
Right.
They have kind of like right of first refusal for any transport. But then
You're second.
now there's so many transports going every which way that we are on the list for them. And then we will be communicating with the UVM Comm Center. They basically just go down through the list of everybody and say,
Who's next?
who's next and who can you get a crew together?
We've had anecdotal, informal requests even from like Rutland Regional to help with transports. It's a never-growing need across the entire area.
Yeah, Dartmouth will be next.
And then as more people do transport,
transport.
yeah, and as, you know, Middlebury, their transport volume is such that then it presents challenges to have, make sure that we obviously have people available for emergencies as well, so.
One thing we can tell the communities is at no point will Bristol Rescue take one of our 911 ambulances off the road to do a transport. There will always be a 911 crew staffed. We will not be taking an ambulance off. It'll only be secondary crews or tertiary.
Exactly.
What'd you do with your old rig?
We sold that actually to the same company that we bought this one for.
Good, so you didn't have to have it hanging around.
No.
Good.
Yeah, we found it was more, we got increased profits for it versus trying to sell it, you know, locally via Craigslist or something like that.
So this is it's a different style of ambulance to the ones that maybe you're used to seeing. Does that give you benefits?
So you have
over the other side?
So you have some increased savings with fuel, which is of course always it's a small detail, but it's something we can do to try to cut costs where we can.
Yeah, fuel is next to payroll, one of our most significant operating costs on a monthly basis.
And then it also for doing transfers and also doing, the other purpose of this it'll be kind of like the main ambulance we do for any events like football game standbys. You know, we want to get out and about in the community more as we move forward, so it also gives us a smaller vehicle to do that with, easier to navigate through traffic, things like that.
Does it reduce the space in the back for you to work?
I mean, it's definitely cramped. You've been in the back of some of the bigger ones. So far though, like I'm certainly one of our taller providers. I have to duck, but I have to duck in any ambulance, otherwise I end up with head trauma, so,
Well,
you're the ambulance, so that's good.
So we definitely have a height thing there, but in terms of space, it actually is a little easier because you can do everything. It's actually a little safer. You can reach everything across the patient.
Not so far to fall.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and also it allows our crews to be seat belted and still be able to work pretty effectively. Now there's a lot more, you have to, especially the critical patient, unbuckle and move around the ambulance, which of course increases risk to providers, so it also gives
What are you talking about? Your drivers are good.
I mean, they are, but it still happens.
We also realized that, you know, you probably aren't gonna have the time for this, but we did happen to bring it here if you wanted to take a little field trip to check it out. But
I looked it over.
you're also gonna stop by the station at any point in time. I'm sure providers
Did you
on call at station would be more
We
than happy to
welcome
show folks.
anybody in the community to stop in anytime, and have a tour of the place and check it out.
As everybody knows, you guys serve the 5 towns, and I think you do a great job, and my heart goes out to you. Did you ask the other towns for anything for this, or are you reaching out to other towns for your other list of stuff that you want to do?
When we sent out the initial list, and we sent out some additional communications, we're still planning to reach out to some of them. Some of the communities came back with strictly, this wasn't something they were focused on, kind of had other projects in mind, but thanked us for applying. Some folks, some towns we've heard back, you know, they're considering it, and some we just haven't heard anything back yet, so we're still reaching out, trying to help offset the cost of some of the projects going forward.
When you said that, you had one slide there that your radio costs go up
4%.
4% a year without, and I'm hoping that's you and Bristol Fire and hopefully Bristol PD can get on one tower and not have to pay that cost.
You have to pay something, but hopefully it won't be like that.
A smaller percentage.
Yeah, we're keeping our fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you guys.
Thank you guys for having us.
It's great to see that where the money's gone.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
A
thanks.
little smaller than that third bay than
Okay, now you got a little bit more charge for that.
Appreciate that.
Thank you all for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey now, I wouldn't go that far, come on, Peter. That's not nice.
You get ready to do the pay, and help me out.
Okay.
I might be able to get.
All right, so we're gonna move on to item number 2, the police station relocation to Firehouse Drive feasibility update and next steps with Cushman Design.
Good evening, my name's Michael Perpall, Cushman Design.
Happy back there.
Hi, Michael.
Hey, Michael.
Hi there.
Well, thank you.
Jamie Simpson from Landmark Engineering Design is also here. He's our partner. He's our partner on the feasibility study for the civil and infrastructure component. I was last presented to the board, I think it was the end of March. We presented two site plan options and building plan options, schematic level design options, just to show our opinion that the site could support the addition of the police department on the firehouse side. And at that, so we had a one-story standalone building option and a two-story, which was an addition to the south side of the firehouse. The thought was to capitalize on the firehouse elevator. You could create an addition of a two-story police department. And the request at that meeting was to pursue some building cost comparisons. So these are our March schematic designs, site plans, and schematic building design.
So this was the one story, sort of connected to the existing building, and then we have proposed two-story.
Yes.
And then we get into sort of the more granular detail of the layout.
Exactly, yeah. So our new, our latest report is an opinion of cost that takes into account building construction costs, design fees, site infrastructure, and permitting fees. We had the help of Naylor and Green Builders, who's one of our trusted construction partners in that part of the state, and Jamie's office, Landmark Engineering. We collaborated to explore the costs of the construction project. And the report we came up with for a one-story standalone building, the $2.66 million project. Here we are, yeah. So we've tabulated some design fees, site infrastructure costs, the building construction costs, that's the biggest number. And then a variety of permitting fees, state and storm and wastewater. So the two projects vary from 2.66 million to about 3.4 million. And then we project that goes up about 4% a year. That's just based on construction activity that we're familiar with.
Mike, can I ask a couple questions?
Yes.
Are the design fees and the building construction costs different just because it's one story versus two? The design fees are more for the two-story, and I assume that's the reason the construction costs are that. But why are the permitting fees higher? Public safety is
based on the square footage, I believe.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, Department of Public Safety bases their permitting fees on the construction valuation. So if we have a more expensive building, then it goes up proportionally. It's a small percentage of that construction cost.
I'm not sure if you mentioned it in your overview, but one of the key distinctions between the two plans, the standalone design is estimated to accommodate 9 people, and the two-story design is estimated or expected to accommodate up to 12 people.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you.
And that led to the select board back in March to discuss to what degree the conversation about police district expansion and the departmental expansion gets wrapped into this conversation, or if they are approached separately.
Right. Yeah, I think there's some planning decisions to be made to decide which building option, which building direction is right for the town for the near term, and projecting any growth in the department against potential savings of building now or having to modify the facility later.
Right.
When you're considering use of space and you're using terms like 9 people, it doesn't necessarily mean 9 police officers. There are outside agencies that use space in our current location, now it's shared space, but they could have potentially an office that they could walk in at any time, and now they have to call, they have to say, hey, do we have time? Can we get in there? Is there anybody else in the building? Because it's so small, they'll hear the conversation, so some of them so the larger space would accommodate those agencies that work with us. That wouldn't necessarily be there every day, but they are there frequently.
That's good to know.
Right, and we've also talked about an additional role, sort of a mental health or social aspect.
Which I really would like to see.
Right, and we're, the select board is in full support of that, it's just sort of figuring out how to accommodate that.
And when you have something like that in our location, the entrance should be kind of away from the main entrance, and the space has to be well soundproof, I guess, that's the right term to use, just so they feel comfortable coming in and meeting and having discussions.
Right. What's in the location that you're at now, what's your square footage?
I don't remember, but I want to say it was like just under 2,000.
Yeah, I believe it is. Yeah, 1,800 sticks in my mind.
Yeah. Okay, so the single story, at least from the designs that we had been put together a number of months ago, the single story was about 4,000 square feet, including car space. And then the 2-story, oh, here we go, so, yeah, so was 5,500 versus 4,500. And obviously there's a very large price difference between those two.
700 grand.
Yeah.
Well, there is and there isn't if you figure it by the square foot.
Right, that's true.
Michael, a couple questions that Peter and we just looked at. I have one that, maybe not his, but the 1-story is further away from the fire station entrance, or further away than the 2-story. Is there a reason for that? Probably doesn't make much difference on the cost, but.
Yeah, it's slightly different.
That's because they're putting
And then
the cover area there.
Question
so they
that
don't
Peter
make
pointed out, and the 1-story, you pull into the sally port and you bring a potential prisoner right out of the holding cell into processing and holding. And in the 2-story, you almost got to walk them down the whole corridor to the processing and holding cell. Is there a reason? Because of the stairs?
In the 2-story.
That one there. Got to walk them by the interview room. You got to walk them by the conference room into the processing.
Yeah, the 2-story version, in general, it moves most of the admin upstairs. So I felt comfortable allowing a little bit more freedom on the lower level for prisoner arrival and that kind of activity.
Okay.
That makes sense. I didn't look at that. I didn't look at the other rooms. I just looked at the distance.
Right. It's essentially the location of the stair wants to be furthest to the south end of the building. It could be these spaces could be rearranged pretty. This is not a final plan, but it's the idea with the feasibility study was to find the right size of the building on the site, and to make sure it could hold all the activities. The locations aren't finalized.
Okay.
But you got 3 holding cells in the single story and only 2 in the, right?
Oh, there's 3 in both.
That's 3 and 2. No, there's 2 in both.
2.
Oh,
Yeah, I was thinking that last one was a holding cell,
HVAC.
not HVAC, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Michael, would it be possible as an alternative concept, if folks are interested in pursuing the single story, moving it closer to the fire station and including the covered walkway, just to connect them in a protected way from the elements.
That's what
I think it was, it looked like here.
well, the covered was for the, over the top, get to the elevator, I
Right.
believe,
The
correct?
other one was, yeah, because they needed to connect them for the
Oh,
elevator.
that's a single story there.
Yeah, this
And it
is-
shows a covered
yeah.
walkway.
Oh, okay, so,
Oh, it says
Connector
that's
above.
connector above, okay.
okay, good.
This one shows.
You're way ahead of us, Michael.
Of course.
Thanks.
But that's not
Yeah,
sides.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, Brett, Chief Brett, indicated how important it was for the fire staff to arrive at their diagonal parking and have a quick route to their entrance, in the back of the equipment bay.
Got
So
it.
the idea was to keep the ground level open in both options. The one story just have a connected roof. And the two story would essentially be a second floor corridor or a bridge between the two.
So the bottom would be open underneath, but it would just be like a walkway you see on some of the hospitals where the airports, where the fire system, okay.
Covered for the elements.
Covered for the elements, right. Mhm.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Any other questions? Darla, do you have any questions?
No, you guys have answered all my questions or asked all my questions, so.
Okay.
Michael, like you said, this is not, anything's not set in stone yet, but could, if they went with the two-story and, where that property secure file server, IT servers, could that be a holding processing area? Get it closer to the Sally port so you're not.
That's
Yeah.
Right. And maybe
Yeah,
make the
that
conference
would be
room
a-
over where the processing and holding is, in that area.
Again, it's just conceptual, but we.
Right, no, I know.
Yeah,
Huh?
it was.
What- yeah, what are your
Something with some
thoughts?
Space.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, we would sit down and see what works best for us, bringing people in and out, whether it's somebody in custody or somebody that we're dealing with a mental health issue. And, or if we have some other agency coming to use the space that we're allowing them to use, we have to also consider how they come into the building. So, but knowing the size, we can move rooms around, that's not a big deal.
Okay.
My thought process was, let's say something happened and the suspect was still at large, could be a sexual assault or something, you're interviewing, and then another agency or another police officer brings the suspect, finds the suspect, and brings them in, they have to take them past the interview room in that scenario.
They wouldn't bring them in without contacting us first. I mean, anytime we're doing any kind of joint investigation with anybody, nobody would come into the building unless the other person knew, or the other agency knew what was going on, so if we had to close.
I guess you're not
the
getting
door
what I'm saying.
Or move somebody.
I guess you're not.
We wouldn't bring them by.
I'm just saying, if someone was in being interviewed, what, taking a statement from them, and then you may bring them in.
He's saying they're not coming in unless he says they can come in.
I
That's
mean,
what he's saying.
We had to
He
hold
hears
them
you.
at another agency until we had the situation under what control we wanted, we would do that.
Okay.
My suggestion would be focusing more on which
Size.
size
Yeah.
to focus on, and then once that's decided, then you can rearrange, you can decorate the walls and rearrange the rooms however you want.
Right.
Right. I see Brett has a question in the chat that says, can Bristol taxpayers expect to vote on expanding the police district to a townwide police department in March of 2024? I don't think we've got that far just yet.
No.
But I think that the clue to that question is that we gonna bring it to the voters at some time? Whether it's 24 or 25 or 26, but are we gonna, that's not, the five of us aren't gonna make that decision, are we gonna put it to the vote?
Well, I think.
Do you want to expand the police department?
At a previous conversation, I think there seemed to be agreement that if the select board supports the idea of a townwide expansion, then the select board needs to present it to the
Right.
voters in that way. And that what we are going to try to do is update all the data that has been collected. You did a lot of work, the committee did a lot of work, and so a lot of that groundwork has been done. We just need to update the numbers and present that to the voters and the select board. If the select board does support the concept, make the case to it,
Right.
to the voters, and see what happens.
Right, because if we're not doing that, then who is supporting that decision to go townwide? If it's not.
It has to be a
Well,
vote. We can't.
No, I know, but I mean, we have to present that.
In a leadership way.
Right,
Yes.
exactly.
Mhm.
As opposed to just saying, here's a question for you.
Right.
Have at it. I think we need to
Exactly.
do more than that.
Yeah.
If we choose to.
But I think your decision on these designs is gonna decide whether you're going townwide or not. I mean, if you're not going townwide, are you gonna build the size buildings and have that, need that size buildings for the current staff? I mean,
I don't
know
think
the
you
answer to
build
that.
it, you can't build for the current staff. You have to plan ahead some.
Well, I understand that, but
Right.
it's a difference whether you're townwide or
Right.
just village.
Mhm.
Yeah, part of it, I
there-
mean, go on there.
I was just gonna say, is there an option if we chose, and if we chose to go with a one story or with a smaller option, could that always, I'm guessing it could be added on to if we chose to at a later date?
Yes, yeah, a building could be designed with capacity for an addition, and that would be an option, yeah.
It might not be the most cost-effective option, though.
Right.
Right, that was my next question.
But, Michael, to add on to that, then you're saying could take let's say, we're all dead and gone in 25, 30 years, they say, well, we gotta expand again. They could go up on top of this or out further.
If it was designed depending
for
on how it was designed.
Well,
going upwards is usually not, it's usually not the expansion. It's not the most economical expansion to plan for a second floor to build at a later date.
Because of the stairs and those other kinds of
Exactly.
structural issues.
Well, then you also have to take the roof off in order to like build up. I mean, you aren't in there for the whole time you're
if you
doing
guys
it.
all remember, is it been 20 years now, the junior high section at Mount Abe is designed to put another top on it. Structurally built, so.
Yeah.
But that's flat too, that's different.
Well, I think this is flat peak.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, this is a
Correct.
flat roof too.
This is a flat roof?
Yeah, this would be a flat roof.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I can't imagine us expanding outward.
No,
We just don't have the
second.
space. I mean, if you're gonna expand, it's gotta be up.
Yeah. And you'd have a bigger footprint to
Right.
expand on down the road, as
Right.
opposed to, instead of a 2,000 square foot, you'd have 3.
Yeah. But we also have, I mean, as the chief stated, they're in a 2,000 square foot building now. Even the single story is double that size.
Right.
And obviously, it's nice to have that space, but it's, we're only a certain size in terms of the Bristol, even if we went townwide. I don't think townwide means double the department. I don't believe that's the intention at all. So it may not be an issue in terms of if we chose a single story to be able to move into that space. Obviously, you expand to fill whatever you're building, whether it's fire department or police or anything like that. But it may not be an issue given the size of our town.
One thought occurs to me, the number of vehicles. Each of these concept plans provide for 2 vehicle bays, but am I correct, Bruce, that we actually are either have or aiming for 3 vehicles?
We do have
We
three.
have 3
We have
now, right. So
But they wouldn't all be.
They wouldn't all be in the bay, but sometimes one of those bays would be used if we secured a vehicle for a search warrant or if we had to seize a vehicle. So, if we did that now, we'd have to put in what we have and our vehicle would be outside.
Right, and it'd obviously be parking to accommodate.
The space that we have now, there are multiple rooms that is shared. I mean,
Right.
for me to do a proper interview, I have to remove the clothes from one room to do the interview.
Mhm.
So, and then when somebody comes in to want to use space for 3 or 4 people, then we have to move other things out of that room into another. So current size, even though we aren't that large.
So you prefer not to move clothes around when you introduce
Prefer
it?
not to. You kind of.
The current size doesn't
Yes.
accommodate for you
Right, exactly.
currently.
Can we get movable closets, so all he's gotta do
There
is
we
roll
go.
the
A
closets?
wardrobe.
You know those the lockers at the firehouse, they roll.
I mean,
So can
how long have
someone,
you been?
no, sorry, I'm sorry.
No.
Can someone remind me, this plan, does it eliminate any parking spots over there?
No, it actually adds.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that depends on whether we can change the stormwater pond, is that right?
Right, I was
Peter?
questioning.
Yeah, Jamie's right there. He's all over it.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, Jamie.
So I presented to Michael a couple different options regarding parking areas as well as the footprint of the building. The two options that I proposed were if we could expand the existing infiltration basin that's on site already. And then the second option, which is a little more expensive, would be to incorporate underground infiltration trenches or infiltration archways or I guess you'd call them the infiltration
Chambers.
chambers. Thank you. I was blanking on that word for whatever reason. Anyway, so the chambers would be located in parking areas, and that way you could maximize your space available without impacting on your neighbors or any of the adjacent infrastructure.
So there's no option of using, Kevin said that he was open to the option of using their stormwater pond. That's not an option.
It's always an option as a last resort. Anytime you're sharing stormwater treatment infrastructure with other entities, you get into a joint permit situation, and then it becomes when maintenance has to happen, who owns that maintenance and who has to take part in the expense of that maintenance, and what is the proportion of that maintenance?
Cause there's never any water in our pond.
I keep hearing that.
As you well know.
Which is right here,
Yeah.
correct?
Yes.
This one? So that's existing, and then you can see this is.
Well, it's all green grass. No, that's an old picture.
Right.
Can't be that
but
old, there's construction there.
Right. I mean, this is still there. Obviously, it's changed greatly in terms of around it, but this part is still here. So are we looking at changing this, or can this stay as it is if a new building is put in this location?
My hope would be that it would not need to change, but simply be expanded and enlarged. And that way you could keep the 4-bay. I have to look at the actual calculations done by Green Mountain Engineering to see if the 4-bay has the capacity required by the stormwater regulations. But if it was oversized or at least accommodated for this future police station, then it's possible it doesn't need to be modified at all.
That's great.
Michelle.
Yeah, it's not gonna change. It's it's gonna give you more impervious soil, so it is gonna change. But like I said, there's never, given the soil types, there's never any water there.
Yeah.
Brett,
Brett, yeah.
I have your hand raised, yep.
My question is the figures you do for the amount of water that goes into these stormwater ponds. Does any of that runoff, that water, does that account for water that's coming down Firehouse Drive from the north to the south?
It takes, I believe when that permit was done, Brett, the whole front yard from the front entrance or the front exit of the apparatus bay comes all the way down to that pond. So all of that water, and now they're taking the water from the second entrance, instead of it going into that pond, it's going into the storm drain system that goes out on
The second
Stone Hill
entrance to the
property.
fire station?
Yeah.
Well, I guess the point is I'm trying to make water doesn't go past that second entrance. Water does flow down Firehouse Drive, and then just I guess that would be on the east side of the diesel fuel tank, then goes into our stormwater ponds, because the engineering for that parking area, when they redesigned that, remember the low spot we used to have there, it didn't work as engineered. Water does
Right.
not go down Firehouse Drive to the stormwater
But the
drains. It
water-
goes onto our back lawn.
The water from the second drive on, there's a sidewalk and a curb there now. So we don't get any of that water. From
east.
From south of the second driveway. There's a sidewalk and a curb down through there, so we don't get any water from there anymore.
Okay.
You're talking on the east side of Firehouse Drive though, right?
On the
Where
west
current-
side.
On the west side? Okay.
Yeah.
There's a curb there now.
Yeah, there was originally that water came off, and so that was designed to take all that water from the front all the way down through, which, like you said, we're still getting. The idea was shove it out in the road and it would go in that storm drainage, but that doesn't happen.
No,
So
yeah,
where's it
because
go now?
it goes into our stormwater drains, the town stormwater drains.
Right.
They're ponds,
Which
excuse
is-
me, stormwater pond.
Which is where it was originally designed to go.
No, but I'm saying now that
Originally,
they have,
until
now
they
that they have the
redesigned-
curbs up. where does it go?
Originally, until they redesigned the back entrance to the parking lot, that water was supposed to continue flowing down Firehouse Drive because we get a large volume of water down that way. But because of the engineering, I'm sorry, it failed. And so now all that water still goes into the town's stormwater ponds on the fire station's back lawn.
So
So
during
you're saying
final
if it-
design,
Okay, thank you, Brett.
so during final design, we would reevaluate all the impervious at the site, including any new impervious, and we would reevaluate based on current topography where that ends up, and at what point we would have to intercept it and send it to the infiltration forebay that's currently where the cursor is now. Because,
Okay.
like was said earlier, south of the text of Firehouse Drive, all of that now has sidewalk on both sides and currently empties into a catch basin structures near where the two white trucks are, down by Stony Hill Properties border. That's right. Exactly.
Okay. All right.
But you're saying it'll all fit. I guess that was the
I
question. Bottom line is
guarantee.
it'll fit.
That's right. Yeah. No. So we'd have to evaluate that. But yes. That's part of the final design.
Okay, any other questions for Michael or for Jamie?
It seems to me we need to decide on a sequence of events. At what point do we ask the voters? Obviously, we would present, now that we know this cost information, we have information to share with the voters.
Well, we can run the numbers with our current lease and see
Right.
where we're at payment wise.
Mhm.
So we'd know that if we did decide to go townwide, or we asked to go townwide and it failed, whether we could afford it or not.
Right.
Right, I guess that would be my recommendation would be to, now that we have a couple of figures for a 1-story and a 2-story, we figure out what additional costs
Right.
will fall upon the police district as it is now.
And that perhaps aiming for the March 2024 town meeting, be prepared to have an item on the warning with this question.
The question for townwide or the question for the building?
Well,
You might have both,
Might
but
have
I
both.
think one might overly influence the other.
I guess I personally can't support, I don't know what to support yet until I know we got the support to go townwide.
Right.
If we got that support to go townwide, and then I think, because right now we can run the numbers, what are we paying just in rent? And what if we do this state, we go with a lower number, just the one
Right.
story. And it comes up to, I'm gonna say a number of $100,000 a year payment, mortgage payment for over 25 years. Then where do we meet that with our present day rent, and with a caveat it's going up every year? Is it year 10, we are over that threshold? And then we can say, we can have that as information for the voters, whether we're gonna have a police department forever. If we build a building, we'll be cost neutral plus less after year such and such, because we're paying in rent, this is what we're presently paying with a 4% a year increase in the rent, or 3%, whatever. We can say.
I think that's part of the
then in
data we
25
need.
years, it's paid off.
Yeah, I think that's part of the data we need. I think also, you know, in listening to the rescue squad folks talk about their increase in numbers, I'd be interested to know what Bruce is seeing for numbers and how that, you know, what that's looked like over the last couple of years. I mean, that's information that would be important for people to have talking about going townwide as well.
Well, that, I was gonna say, that's all the data we're saying we have to get up to date for the townwide discussion. But I'm trying to understand what you were saying. I mean, I get what you were saying, but I think Peter was saying, if we can figure out what the number is for the rent, whatever we pay per year for rent, if that's gonna be the same cost as it would, we need to make sure that if it's voted, if townwide is not voted to go to, that we can still make that.
Still, we can afford it.
That our, that our numbers will be the same.
Currently, your rent is $37,350 a year. That's
Plus-
just the rent.
Just plus CAM, right? There's CAM in there too, right?
The
Utilities and stuff.
Right.
No, I'm not
That's
talking
just
utility.
rent.
There's
Yes.
common area maintenance, we have to pay,
Right.
share of plowing, share of the
But
mowing.
this is just the rent at this time, and it's been going up about 3% a year.
3-4%.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. I mean, all of this is obviously gonna change your budget potentially in some way.
Well, we wanted to get some numbers so we
Right.
could determine
Yes.
at what point, if the rent payment becomes equal to a bond payment, then why are we investing in
Exactly.
somebody else's property?
Right.
Yeah.
And then that would open that space up for somebody else to fill.
Right, absolutely.
That's
So
what I was
that's,
getting
we
at.
needed to get to at least to this point, and
Yeah.
then we can
Yes.
start working on the data and see how
Yeah.
things.
Right, and you hope when you run those numbers that it's very close with a bond payment.
Right.
But we'll see. But yeah, I think that's the first stage, is just sort of figuring out what those numbers are, because then that's we'll see the percentage increase to the police budget for next year, and whether we feel that voters would even vote for that.
It seems to me like it would need to be a two-step process. That in March of 2024 would be this bond vote for townwide or not. And the outcome of that won't necessarily affect that year's budget, because you won't be.
Nothing will happen that
Nothing
year.
will have happened yet. And that the following year, or a special meeting sometime after March, could be the issue of the building, the bond vote.
But I do think that we have that information for cost-wise for a building, and when does it even out for a bond payment? You know, when does the rent catch up with the bond payment, and it would be cheaper to bond than paying somebody else's.
And maybe day one.
Right, that's what.
It may be.
Maybe, I doubt it.
That's the hope, but, yeah.
You know, then, because if I'm living in the town and stepping into the ballot box and going, wait a minute, I'm looking at a huge tax increase possibly, if they build a building, but it's gonna be, if we don't build it, it's actually gonna be more because we're paying more in rent.
And that's part of the narrative that you're explaining, but I mean, that's only one part of that going townwide. I mean, I think the building and the townwide are two completely separate issues and have to be handled in a different way.
Right.
But I don't know, yeah.
I think the level of service is the huge one, what they're going to get and what they're presently getting.
Right.
With
And
state
that's-
police.
yeah, that's a
Send us
discussion
in your
for another
information and we'll take care of it. It's call your insurance company.
I mean, some of the CAM, that you're talking about, the CAM, some of that's gonna go away if they're over at the fire station.
Right, but Bruce was just giving you rent only. There's a CAM in there also.
Right. Well, I know, but if you're figuring out cost currently versus what it will be, that has to be considered.
Right.
Okay. Well, I think we've had questions that Michael and Jamie have answered, so I think we're free to let them go.
Yep.
And we'll have our longer discussion. But thank you very much, both of you. We really
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Yes, a lot of good work.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'll be calling you tomorrow, Jamie. I meant to call you today. If I'd known you were gonna be here tonight, I would have.
Thanks, Jamie.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Michael.
Okay,
So in
do we-
terms of putting together that data, how did we leave it with like a subcommittee, or how did we leave that we were gonna try to tackle that?
We haven't discussed that.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know if we need another subcommittee. I think we could just.
Internal.
No,
Yes.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
We don't wanna do what we did the last
No.
time.
The last
And
three times,
and it's not,
Michelle,
not
the last
needed.
3 times?
Not
Yeah.
needed for this. I think, I mean, I'm the liaison for the police department. I'm happy to work with Bruce.
We need to come up with a list of things to do, what data you're looking for,
Right.
and start gathering the data.
Right,
Exactly.
right. But I think the numbers, I think now that we have an actual dollar figure, it shouldn't be too difficult to work out what a bond payment would be and how that equals to what the current budget is for
Right,
rent.
and Joel had done an extensive analysis, so maybe we can dust that off and see if we can reuse some of that structure and some of the baseline data that you had.
It's almost as old as the
Is
Pine Street water line.
is it possible to get the calls that VSP doesn't respond to? The number of calls that is it possible to get the number of calls they get for Bristol?
For the town of Bristol?
For the town of Bristol.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
That they actually respond to, or even the ones they don't respond to?
Both.
Anytime an incident report is generated, we can get that.
Okay, so in that incident report, will it say whether they responded or not? I guess what I'm getting at is, can we tell the public that VSP was called 75 times, but they only responded 25 times? I mean, I think that would be valuable information to have.
We could.
Yeah, because I was gonna say, I know they don't respond.
More labor intensive because the system is set up that we start a case or an incident and then we close it. So we have to open up each incident to read to see what actually took place.
Do you think that that's valuable information though?
It might be, or if you talk to enough residents that have.
I think that's
called and not had them show up?
There's many of those.
It's, and I don't want to, I won't generate numbers to make another agency.
No.
Okay, so, but there are times that, just like our agency, we're busy and we can't get there immediately. And they might follow up later, or they'll reach out to us and ask us for assistance because they assist us, we'll go assist them and take care of it for them. So what I don't want to do is, when we're gathering this data, making it look like one agency is better than the other, because we both have the same issues as far as staffing.
Right.
And we have the same issues as far as response. But there is a difference with some of the calls on how they respond versus a small local agency that is more community oriented. And so I can get whatever data you're looking for.
Yes, yeah. I think you both are looking out, trying to do the best, and appreciate that. And I think what I was looking at was, okay, pick up the phone, pick up the phone, he lives in the town and says, I got broke in today, my garage got broke into, the doors kicked in, and I got tools missing. Okay, send us a list so we can verify an incident. Well, and they don't physically show up. You guys would physically show up, because they have a manpower shortage like you do, but you guys would physically show up. And I think that's what you were looking for, more of that data. If we had some of that, or if we had testimony from town residents, said I've called, and they'll say.
We can certainly give you responses, but I'm not going to.
I can see where, no, I totally get that.
If you start focusing on that,
Yeah.
then it creates animosity
Friction.
between agencies, and we can't afford that.
No.
I need them to back us up. We are by ourselves. And there are times they're by themselves. We went to Lincoln the other day with one of the troopers. So, you know, we are not going to do anything to create any friction with that relationship. You know, I can tell you, I don't want to estimate the wrong estimate, but there's only 1 or 2 hours of overlap in Bristol where there's 2 police officers at the same time. And that's usually between 2 and 3 or 2 and 4. Anytime after 3, it's just me staying later. Other than that, it's 1 Bristol police officer by themselves. Even when we get called out, we're by ourselves. So, you know, we need to continue our support with local agencies, like, and not just state police. Middlebury backs us up after 2 o'clock in the morning because there may not be a trooper available. So whatever we do, we can provide you data, but it's not going to make anybody look bad.
Well, also too, I think it's not just that we're looking for data to sort of tell the story. I think it's what you want, what narrative you want to
I mean,
tell.
we will present all of the calls for service that we have that I call proactive or community policing.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of that, and we can show that data. Or you can talk to people. We're having at least once a week or every other week, somebody coming up and saying, you guys are always out walking around, we really appreciate that. Are they calling you? No, but they're telling us.
Yeah.
You know, and you're seeing us out there, and we're trying to be out there as much as we can.
Right.
And that's the difference between a larger agency that has to cover the entire county and us, where we can focus on smaller areas.
Okay.
And,
Well, I mean, I
you know,
think,
and some of the data, and that's where it's going to be me having to try to explain it, our mental health call might be longer than somebody else. And when I do a follow-up visit to somebody the following week to see how they're doing, I'm not putting in another incident report. I'm just grabbing a cup of coffee or a soda because I know which one they prefer, and go sit with them for 15, 20 minutes, half an hour, ask how their day is going, make sure that they're following up with some of their appointments, and if I need to remind them, here, don't forget these services, it minimizes the amount of times we go when they're in crisis. And when people are in crisis is when we don't, that's when mistakes are made.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the numbers are more for like, how many calls do people out of town have
Right.
that you could respond to? I mean, I don't think it's a matter of making people look bad, but it's a numbers game.
I think the other thing we
It is
need
a
to,
numbers game, but when you look at just that number, you don't know how many
Right.
hours or how many
Right.
minutes are spent.
Absolutely.
Or if there's follow-up, it's not going to be in there. So we have to be careful how we present numbers. I don't like stats because they don't explain everything.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, we can connect, yeah.
the thing we can use to our advantage is that you also deal with all these people from out of town.
That we've been starting to track. If it's a non-district resident,
Mhm.
we're trying to remember to check that box off. And so you'll see how many percents or how many of those calls we deal with.
Right, okay.
But, and again, if it's somebody that's in mental health crisis that I've been to, I'm gonna do that follow-up. It's not going to be in there that I went outside the police district to have a conversation, but anyway.
Okay.
Right.
All right, thank you, Bruce.
Thanks, Bruce. So it sounds like the next step is Bruce and Ian will connect, and then we'll go from there.
Yep.
Okay.
And let me know how I can help.
We need to figure out the numbers.
Yes.
If you can give us a rough idea of what you figure a bond payment would be and where we would break even.
Okay.
I mean, I would think we could get started on that
Right.
at the same time.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep.
If I had my bond calculator here,
Yeah.
I have it at work.
Yeah.
And computer.
All
All right. Thanks, Bruce. And other folks who left. Okay. All right. So moving on, number 3, street tree planting project update and discussion of source of matching funds. Tree committee members, Josh, I'm going to get your last name wrong. Bahunik, did I say that right?
Oh,
And John Swepston.
I don't know that John, I don't know if John
John's not
is
here.
zoomed in, but he's not physically here.
It's his wife's birthday.
Oh, well, it's a good reason he's not here.
Stay.
He will still be married after
Yeah,
tonight.
sure.
Set of
Join
priorities.
us at the table.
Thanks.
Have a cushy seat.
Well, thanks for allowing me to come today. I'm Josh.
Thanks.
Say your last name.
She has to try it first.
I did, and I did it badly. Is it Bahonik? Bahunik?
You got it. See? It sounds just like it
Not so
looks.
bad.
Everybody gets intimidated. Yeah, I sent in an
Your memo.
update. I don't know if you guys have it or not.
Yep, I have it, and I summarized it a little bit in my TA report.
Oh, you probably did a better job than me then. So, but yeah, well, thanks for giving us some time here. I don't know what you want me to say or
Well, I
what
can
you
quickly
want.
summarize that Josh presented, that they did a survey of village residents. They received 22 responses of folks who are interested in hosting a tree in the green space between the sidewalk, if there was one, and the road. Also included online with the select board information is the evaluation that John Swepston put together of those responses and which sites were actually suitable for hosting a tree, one or either a small or a large tree. And Josh went and solicited bids from at least 3 different nurseries, 4 actually, received responses from 3. In his memo, he summarized the results with Borough Hill being the apparent low bidder. And he summarized the cost ranges from that particular bid tally. And so there's 2 different questions for the select board right now, and that is, do we go for 30 trees or 22 trees? As outlined in Josh's memo and summarized in John's survey review. And then where does the match come from? When the select board authorized applying for the grant, which is a $5,000 grant, it wasn't explicitly clear where at that time was a $40 or $2,500 match is at minimum required, but the actual budget called for more like $4,500. And we didn't completely clarify where that might come from. It could have, we talked about it coming from the A. Johnson Bequest Fund, which now has enough money to cover that, or we don't really have enough budgeted line items like in the rec department of public works for tree investments yet. But then of course there's ARPA money. So the question is, where would so if we go with 30 trees, the required match to meet the cash outlay of 30 trees would be higher, like
4830.
Yeah, 4830, or a little bit less if we go with the 22 trees, or some number in between even. So maybe it's a range.
So do we have places for all 30?
You have 17, you have 17 places, do you? Or 20?
John identified that there were
I said 22.
17 sites that are suitable.
Well,
So people that asked.
Yeah,
Of
right.
the people that asked.
So part of the online Front Porch Forum application we did was the idea of if homeowners wanted it, then they would help take care of it through watering the tree. So that helps alleviate some of the maintenance needs on the survivability of it. And so that one that's where we got the list of 17 from. John and myself have identified several other planting sites. And there's a lot of, dozens. Our hope in the committee is to be here frequently to you guys, to utilize grant funds. There is a lot more. I don't know if you guys know, but there's Governor Scott put over $1 million in the state budget for tree planting in Vermont this year. So there's about to be a lot of money hitting the streets.
Is that where we're getting the 5 from, or that different?
No, that's a different one. This is,
we could get
That's
some
coming down later.
yeah, this fall, there's gonna be a lot more grant available money for planting. And some of that won't have as much of a match component.
So would your recommendation to be go with less and apply for more money down the road, or do you think we ought to jump on the 30 trees now?
The original grant was for 30 trees, but they reclassified our grant, which allowed us to have less of a match. So because of that, we reduced our scope just to be safe, so we wouldn't have to do it. So I don't think there's a right answer in that regard.
Okay.
I want more trees because I want more trees. So.
Well, you're honest about it.
Well, and we need to fill the spaces, and the reason we applied for the grant is for emerald ash borer, which is going to kill all of our trees, and this is
all our ash trees.
All of our ash trees, correct, right? And mountain ash trees, but yeah. So the part of it is, and there's other mature trees that are getting taken down. So it's just to restore the tree canopy that has been taken down and will be coming down. So, yeah.
There's a part of me that says I'd like to do it in stages so that all the trees are at a different point when they die. You're not after replacing them all at one time. But
the other side of that is hopefully you've got some that don't have to be nursed.
Right.
So you're not nursing. If we end up doing this and then we end up, 17 of them will be taken care of, we gotta take care of 13. And then we get a grant for another 30, now you're taking care of.
Yeah, I'd like to
40-something trees.
Minimum of the 22. But my question is, and Valor and I noticed it the other day, when we were up on the corner, Spring and Mountain, if Eric had to give, he has to give out driveway permits and he has to have so much sight distance. Some of our streets don't even have sight distance. When you come to a stop sign, you can't see down the street. I mean, we looked at Mount Street, the corner of Spring and Mountain, we couldn't look up towards the school. There's trees in the way and one down on the south. I'd like to make sure our intersections are clear, so we're not planting trees right close to our intersections if you stop at a stop sign with a car.
Or something that's not gonna bush low.
That's
Or
part
bush
of
low.
that's part of the selection criteria and why like 5 of the sites didn't make it. It could be
Okay.
for site, it could be for overhead utilities, it could be too small of a gross space, it could be, they could have applied for their private yard too. Like there's several factors. You know, we're practicing the right tree in the right place for the right reason, you know, so looking also at salt tolerance and shade and
I
things.
saw one of the ones was on Pine Street. Our ultimate goal some year when we win the megabucks and get billions of dollars was to put a sidewalk down Pine Street. But I wouldn't want to plant a tree this year and 10 years later, we cut it down because we put the sidewalk through that. I would hope that would.
I wouldn't want to not plant a tree because we might do a project someday.
Well, no, I want to plant a tree, but maybe not. I agree,
Not
I'd like to
right
see
away
a
with
lot more
sidewalk.
trees in the village. I'd like to see a lot more trees in the village.
So
So do
that,
we, go ahead.
the money from A. Johnson, that's just the interest only, right?
Just the interest
That's-
only.
Because it's been sitting there for. a good
Yeah, I know,
number
I wanted to clarify that
Yeah.
we weren't taking money out of the fund other than what, right, the
Principal
gain
is still
on it.
there,
Which is
So
good.
we'll lose-
4,500 is great. I mean,
doing its job.
So we won't use if we get less trees, we won't use the full grant.
We'll still use the full $5,000 grant.
Our match will be different.
Our match, you know, we're only obligated to do the 22 trees. And as long as we do that, we'll meet the $5,000 minimum. But we don't have enough, so am I making sense? Like we have to.
Yeah, well, I just wanted to make sure we weren't going, you know, like if we only did 22 trees, we're only gonna get 4,500 instead of 5,000.
Right.
That's all I
In
wanted to.
future years, you know, again, because of the December meeting, there was, but anyway, in future years for grants, you don't always have to match with cash, you know, like we can
The
match.
in-kind.
Right.
Okay.
So we can, you know, essentially, I don't want to say give free trees because there's value in the in-kind services, but
But in this case, we actually have to come up with the cash outlay to pay for the trees and.
Right.
If you're confident that there's gonna be more money down the road, I would say we go with the 22 so that we use.
And another thing is, if you guys have noticed, I have in the banking industry, the CD rate is going up some. And maybe we'll earn a little more interest on that Johnson money. I don't know what we're getting right now, but they're having CDs right now at 4%. We're probably not making more than 2 on that J. Johnson.
I don't know.
There's another avenue, they put that in a different fund, maybe.
Looking at the bids, do you know, there's obviously a very large difference between them all, and especially at Laurel Hill. Is there a reason for that? I mean, that's a significant difference in their total bid.
Oh, and one thing to note, that Laurel Hill's base bid did not include a 1-year warranty, so it would be an additional $100 per tree for a 1-year warranty.
2,200 on that, so it'd be about 10,800 on that.
Okay, I mean, that's
versus
still,
29.
that's still half, more than half.
Are all the trees the same age? I mean, if there's
Yeah.
some
no,
ages.
that's well, there's 2 big reasons. You know, both Greenhaven and Horsfords are set up as retail operations.
Yeah.
They're not really set up for a wholesale scenario, right? So they're just charging them more expensive, but they are larger trees. Greenhaven is putting in a minimum of 2.5 to 3 inch trees versus Burrow Hills, which are 1 to 1.5 inch trees.
So that's why. Okay.
We've been planting that size in the region for a while. Burlington is exclusively doing it now because they get smaller trees actually have a faster adaptation to the environment and will grow quicker, but they are smaller to start with.
Yeah.
Less stress.
Is that $100 per tree grant, their guarantee, is that?
A year, right?
So you pay that every year, or it's just a guarantee of the tree? If it dies in 2 years, is
If it
it
dies in 1 year, they replace the tree. If
Dies
it
in
don't,
2?
you're on your own.
after one growing
Yeah,
season?
it's not like an insurance policy you can keep renewing.
No, I just,
Yeah, no, it's a good question. Yeah, and obviously, well, not obviously, but the price here did not include that because we didn't ask for that price. We just asked if there was a warranty. So
Do the other two have
In
warranties?
the bid price.
Yeah.
what was that figure?
The other two do include warranty in
Right.
their price. Okay.
Okay. All right, so we would add
But they
that.
didn't like line item it, so I don't know how much it is.
Mhm.
Presumably, when you're doing a 2 or 2.5 inch tree and you have it in a root ball like that, like it's really easy to keep that tree alive for a year. Like you don't have to do anything. It's pretty much impossible to kill it in 1 year time.
I probably
My
could.
house.
Yeah, I mean, last year's drought could have done it a little
Yeah.
bit, but.
This year they could have
Got
water
a
logged.
waterlogged, yeah.
You got enough water?
So one option is we could do more than the 22. So looking at the numbers, if we choose to go 30, we're actually over our budget that we have, at least if we use the A. Johnson, only by a few $100s.
Yeah.
And we could probably find money somewhere else to match that. Or we could start, as Peter said, with the 22, knowing that there's potentially more money coming down the line in terms of grants. We have a grant writer on staff, so that's a real benefit, I think, to us. And obviously, if we went with the 22, we're only using 1,738 of that Johnson Fund money, leaving that other money open.
How much
to other
are we
things
using
as
on
well.
that, Johnson, if we only do 22? What'd you say?
1,738.
And we had, how much you said in there?
4,500,
4,500.
yeah, 4,500. So we have that money for other tree-related projects.
Are we gonna insure them for a year?
I would, given the smaller size, would you recommend taking that extra $100 per tree for insurance?
I wouldn't, because it's about $100 a tree to buy a new one. So I would just do survival of the fittest personally and say, even if 10% died, then you could put another $1,000 and you could buy 10 more trees and,
Or vandalism. At that
yeah, and
size,
some
it
of
can be
them,
vandalism.
will die and some will, one will get run over by a car and one might get
Well,
stolen.
snowplow.
Like things happen, right?
I'm thinking more of trimming them. Depending on where they're planting between the sidewalk and the road. 4 years down the road, when they've grown up and bushed out, are we gonna end up going through and trimming them all?
And I have heard from walkers in town about.
That's the other thing, is you know how the people are with the owners as far as trimming their trees.
Well, they'd be our trees.
Right.
Yeah, there are
Town
trees.
trees.
Yeah, okay, you go up on Church Street and you go ahead and you talk to that lady up there, and go for it.
Which thing?
No, Pleasant Street, I'll give you the address, you go talk.
That's not point.
Right, but that's, like you said, they'd be ours versus, which, obviously if it belongs to, if it's a property owner, it's a very different thing. But yeah, I assume we wouldn't be trimming them.
I hope, say what?
We will be trimming them eventually, right?
Yeah, we're gonna have to.
Depending on what they have for trees.
Right, that's right.
Yeah, I mean, in 7 years, you'll have to remove them, right? Like, I mean, that's what trees do,
Yeah.
So-
When you said 7 or 70?
70, okay.
70.
All right, I thought you said 70.
It won't be your problem, Joel. It won't be your problem.
That's what you call kicking the ball down the road.
Or Aaron's,
The other thing I got too is, are you planning on putting any on East Street?
I don't have the address. I know that is a
There
place
are-
that John wants to plant trees.
There
but I don't know.
There was one on East Street, wasn't there?
I saw
Two on East Street.
What's
You
your-
thinking of your
what's
storm drain?
Yeah, all that new storm drain and storm line that we put in on East Street is there. And if the roots get into that,
Well, I think you ought to be marking that out and bring that to John.
Right, so let's,
John's attention.
That's all
Tree in the
new
right
though,
place.
right?
what's that?
That's all newly installed, right?
Yeah.
Did 3 years ago.
Yeah, so that would be, tree roots don't go into new pipes. They only go into like broken pipes.
Well, the catch basins are,
Holes.
holes in
Got
them.
holes in them.
Drainage.
Yeah.
So that's where the roots would go. I'm not, but yeah, I told John the other time, the last time he was here, that culverts that go in between the storm drains are basically in a straight line with the storm drains. So just have them keep that in mind when they go planning, that's all.
Okay.
Yeah,
we can, I think they can check with you in terms of before, when we get them and when they're starting to be planted, just make sure.
That should be the rule anyway.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So we need a motion.
Yeah, that'd be helpful.
I'll make a motion that we go with the 22 trees now. Sorry, Josh. And then, and if we get more money, then I think we can go forward. Like I said, I think I want the different ages, like if we're planting some now, I'd like to have it stepped so that we're not taking them all out at the same time. We're having to replace them all at the same time.
Yeah, you shouldn't have to anyway. Like people, they don't all last the same amount of time.
I know that, but you know how it goes.
But we're catching up a little bit. I'll agree to 22 if we're not gonna, kind of like we do our sidewalks. I'm a little disappointed. We'll do 300 feet one year, and then we'll wait 3 years, and then we'll do or 2 years.
No, he's going from,
I get that,
looking for more money.
Then we're committed, we're gonna, if he comes back here another year, got 22 more to do, well, I don't wanna.
It's all about money.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, if there's money available.
But if he's got a grant and we've got enough A. Johnson money, again, of the interest.
Well, we're saving enough to do, and he said some of these grants are non-matching, so they get matched in kind, so. I
just wanna make sure cause Josh could probably say we could use, and John could say we could use 100 on these streets in over 5 years or 3 years.
Well, when the budget season starts coming up, I'd like to put a line item in for planting
trees.
Well, I've
And tree
suggested,
Yeah.
I've suggested creating a new reserve fund for trees. And like we did with cemeteries, put $10,000 in it, and there it is. So when opportunities like this come up, either on our own accord, such as with the sidewalk, we have put money in for sidewalks, and there it is. Sometimes we can use that money to leverage other things. Sometimes we just use it for an opportunity that we have.
Instead of getting voter approval for capital, another capital thing, people will say to us, is a reserve fund. Could we, when we have a surplus, could we put 10,000 into the A. Johnson fund?
Sure.
Tree planting fund, and our commitment was not to spend the 100,000 sold to us, but spend the interest or other funds in that.
Well, that wouldn't be interest.
No, but it would be other funds, if we still keep in the 100.
Right.
If we went, wait, so did you make a motion?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nobody said.
I'll
I was gonna
second
say,
it.
I'm looking for a second.
Second. I think we got into discussion before we got to the second.
If we did here's the discussion, if we did the 30, we know where 4,500 of that money will come from. There's not much obviously left to match, but do we have a place for that if we wanted to do the 30? Is there a reason is your main reason for doing the 22 just in terms of spacing them out?
Spacing in the font, I knew that.
Yeah, he's confident that Josh is confident that there's gonna be more grant money available this fall, so. I mean, that's my theory behind doing the 22.
Yeah.
I'm not, I wanna do more trees.
Right.
But if we can get more money, more
Without
bang
having
for.
to match it.
Yeah.
Right.
Or if we do have to match it, maybe the match will be less.
Right, okay.
Okay.
Right. So we have a motion and a second, and we've had a lot of discussion. So all those in favor of planting 22 trees at this time?
Aye.
Okay. Ayes have it. Thanks very much.
And as soon as you know there's grant funds, let us know, because then we can get the grant writer to.
And I
apply.
presume that embedded in that approval is accepting Borough Hill's quote.
Yes.
Yes.
bid.
Yes.
Without the additional insurance.
Yeah.
You don't need to add.
And that would be, and using the funds, the A. Johnson funds, correct?
The A. Johnson funds
Yeah.
for the town's portion.
Yeah, and that match would be 1,738.
All right.
Happy planting.
Is that okay?
Thank you, Josh.
You're okay with 22?
Yeah, I'm happy we got 22 trees.
That's great.
Thank you for all that
your-
you've done.
yeah, Thank you for
He's
your
like-
work.
he's like-
You can dig them up, I got tons
He's
of
coming back for more,
Ian,
it's good.
That's right.
Next time I'll have a third option for like 26 trees.
1,738. That was an option here too, it didn't have to be either or,
Right,
it could have been, it could have been 27 trees.
That's true.
I got trees if you wanna dig them up.
We know he'll be back.
Well, hang on. You're giving away trees. Wait a minute.
Thank you very much.
Great,
Thank
thanks, Josh.
you.
Thanks, Josh.
I don't know how good they are.
Thanks so much. Alrighty, moving on.
Hopefully the next one should be a pretty quick one.
Consider authorizing town administrator to submit a letter of request to the Natural Resources Conservation Service for assistance.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
I would wanna know what is this,
This is for the Briggs Hill slide.
right, but is this money we have to pay back, or is this?
It's very similar, it's comparable to the West Street slope failure that we dealt with behind the lumber yard. 75% grant, 25% has to be matched by the sponsor, which would be the town, which we're gonna be spending it anyway, one way or another, so.
Could that be in kind, like trucks and?
There is funding, part of that funding does cover some admin time, but not in kind.
Where is the 25% coming from? What is that?
Because we're gonna be spending stuff on it anyway,
I see.
to repair it.
Okay.
So, and related to this, because we need to get, the EWP program can pay for the engineering. They either do the engineering in-house, or they would pay, the reimburse the town if we have to go out and contract for it. Now, at our FEMA meeting this morning, we talked about the need to engineer a permanent solution for the Briggs Hill slide. But it would behoove us to wait to do that until after we get qualified for the EWP program, so that we get a grant agreement with them, and then we know that the engineering expenses are covered under their agreement. In other words, I recommend against jumping the gun on it, on hiring the engineer until we, and as I recall with that Halloween flood, which did the West Street slope and also the Ireland Road, Lewis Creek damage, that program was very responsive, very quick, because it's designed to be, to respond to imminent danger.
Okay.
So it should be a pretty quick turnaround.
So you said that, Eric said earlier that he walked FEMA through it, the Lincoln Road and the Briggs Hill. So does that go away? If they give us money, can we pay that out of the 25%?
They each require a match. So, either way, we're paying a match up for
That
something.
Ponzi scheme.
I know, it's a little shell game.
Shell game?
Yes, exactly.
Well, here's the third shell. There's another shell. Turns out that Lincoln Road is a federal state aid highway. So technically, it might not qualify for FEMA funding. We have to go through the Federal Highway Administration. And we've already directed Frida to track that down.
Okay.
So she's on it. So we'll cobble something together. But Briggs Hill is separate. There's the Lincoln Road and the Lincoln Road stuff going on there, including and this might be more where the Federal Highway Administration stuff comes in, is those two areas along Lincoln Road that we're trying to get repaired, the river bending through the V-Trans grant that we need to raise $300-something more thousand for. That's where the FEMA money, or not FEMA, the Federal Highway Administration money might come in handy.
Is this a competitive thing, or is it they are
Not
providing?
necessarily.
Okay.
Yeah. They certainly evaluate it on merit and whether it qualifies and meets the criteria, but we're not competing against other disasters.
But FEMA won't say to us, oh, you've applied for this
Right.
natural resource,
Well, they
Briggs Hill, then we're stepping away from that Briggs Hill.
I don't know. But this is still worth pursuing.
Okay.
We're not committing to anything, we're just.
Right.
Yeah, we're applying.
We'll apply, yeah. All right, so we have a motion and a second,
Yeah.
and we
I
have
guess my
discussion.
question, My question was,
Go ahead.
Briggs Hill, FEMA might give us 90%, we want to pay 10 versus 75, 25. That's all I was trying to.
Right, but we don't know.
We don't know.
We don't know till we apply.
Let's at least apply.
Okay.
Okay, sorry.
All those, that's okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, thank you very much. There you go, Valerie.
Thanks.
Item 5. Consider authorization request from the Recreation Department to apply for Vermont Division of Historic Preservation for a grant for Holly Hall brick and window repair.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any discussion?
We need it.
Yes.
Definitely. So, but
Yeah.
this said up to 20,000 bill. So does that mean we'd have to come up with 20,000 per?
At least, yeah.
Per,
Yep.
for the stained glass and then 20,000 for the brick part?
Or whatever,
No, it's per
the total
property.
project cost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You ain't gonna do that project.
It's a 50/50 grant,
Okay.
and they, the maximum that they offer is 20,000, so if we have a $50,000 project, but we're still only getting 20%, or 20,000.
Yeah.
Better than that.
Let's hope it's not that much.
Right,
But-
yeah. And Meredith has already begun soliciting quotes for the brick work.
What about the stained glass?
I don't think that's happening yet. At least
Okay.
quotes for the grant, for the purpose of submitting a grant application.
Okay. Because I know a stained glass person, so.
Is his name Ian?
No.
Broken beer bottles don't count.
Yeah.
No, it's Rebecca Glass up in Burlington. I know someone who is a co-owner of that. Who's done work, she's done work at the Lebanus Lodge.
Just, I guess, if she applied for just the brick and then applied for the, so she's gonna get 20,000 to brick and windows, or 20 each for, is it 2 projects?
It's a single building.
Yeah,
So I think
property.
it's-
Single brick per
Property
property. I see
versus-
it's
Under the property.
Would be better off apply for the bricks this year and the windows next year. That's what I'm just, I don't think.
Can we
you can touch
reply
that for
year after year?
20,000.
I think you can't get it 2 years in a row. I think there has to be a lag time. And Frida actually alerted us to that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess,
We have
yeah,
the library too. We
Yeah.
have, and Frida alerted us that if we apply for Holly Hall, we might not be able to apply for the library for another year and a half, or something like that. You have to skip a cycle. But there might be other funds for the library.
right, because the library, I would say, is that a priority over Holly Hall in terms of the brick and stained glass versus their infrastructure for that particular building?
Well, that's not to say, I would suggest that this authorization is not mutually exclusive. We can also evaluate that and do another authorization after we get more information. I don't know the answer to that.
Okay. Just because I know that I think we're further ahead in some aspects with the library project, and we have a lot of
But I think
detail.
there are other funds available for
Yes.
the library work,
Right.
and not so much for Holly Hall.
I mean, there's the MRF
Yeah,
money,
exactly.
but that's only, it's not something like this, where
Mhm.
it's not the exterior of the library, that's more for energy resilience and the systems. We still need something to repair rot and redo
Mhm.
painting and
I
things like
wouldn't be
that.
surprised if some of that energy efficiency work, just by the nature of it, would involve some
Okay.
of those replacement
Okay.
components.
Okay.
Like rotted windowsills. I
Right.
mean, you're losing
Yeah,
a
that's
lot of
true.
energy
That's
through
true.
rotted
I guess
windowsills.
if you get creative in terms of how you approach it.
Is the
Okay.
library registered with the historical preservation though?
Oh, yeah.
It is, the
Yeah,
library.
it's
I
on-
know this building is, but I didn't.
Yeah, it's on the National Register.
Okay.
Nice. All right, did we have a motion? Sorry, I lost track.
Yeah, I made the motion and,
You made
let's say, Peter made the second.
Speaker and I seconded it.
And we discussed, so, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, thank you, guys have it. Moving on to number 6. Continued consideration of a plan to replace the Howden Hall sign. Ian Albinson to report.
Okay. So, here's where I left it last time. Let's see if I can share this. Okay. That's the current sign. And then this is what I presented May 22nd. So these are 3 variations using different kinds of color usage and topography, and also sort of keeping the original sign design. At that meeting, looking at the minutes, this was what the discussion was. Talked about the curved top border. This was the direction that the board liked. Curved top border, also an established date, which would match similar signs that we had around town. This is my revision of that. So we've got the built in 1842, that's confirmed. I think it's on the building. I also confirmed with Reg. And I've taken the design element that's on the current sign and created an illustration for that, which is that top piece added in the gold, which is what is there now. That's a little bit disintegrated. And then we've got the gold for the Bristol Historical Museum sign. That's what it might look like installed. Obviously, the wood around it would be repainted back to its original, what it used to be, with the white. I assume it was white. I don't know, there isn't much paint on there. I'm assuming it was white when it was originally put in. Replacement of the top pieces on each side. And then the area here on the left side, there is like a flag holder. I guess if the museum is open, maybe they used to put that out. It's kind of I don't know if we want to take that off or leave it for the potential of putting a flag out. Probably. I think you could just leave that in.
Well, their proposal was to replace those poles.
No,
Yeah, they were gonna replace the
the
poles.
no, they were gonna replace the caps and paint the poles.
I thought they said they were rotted and they were replacing
Yeah, I thought so.
the.
No, the tops, those round things on the
Yeah.
top are
Finials.
rotted.
Finials, yeah.
What are they here?
Finials,
Finials.
P or F, finials.
Finials. So here we are compared to other signs. So we obviously have our new welcome sign. Same design firm worked on that for the town, Everest and James, and then they also happened to work on the recreation park, their new signage that they just put in.
It should say field there, it shouldn't say Bristol Recreation Park. It should say field, but.
It's not a park?
It was turned over 1921 as the Bristol Recreation Field.
Interesting.
Well, it's now a park.
No, its designation has changed.
So in terms of next steps, approval of final design, check with Chris in the zoning department for the replacement design if we need to change anything. I don't think it needs to go before the design review commission because it's just a sign. He has.
I think it does.
We don't do signs. He does. The zoning department does signs.
Yeah, you guys did the one out front here. that we
No, they
wanted.
didn't.
Nope.
No, they didn't.
Yeah.
Design review board?
I say we because if the audience doesn't know, I'm a member of that commission, have been for many, many years. So we've never done signs. I always think we do, but we actually don't. Chris approves signs. It's usually the square footage of the building that the sign is going on. It's a particular percentage of that. Because the sign, it's not changing a tremendous amount from the original sign. It's a little bit smaller actually because it's we're taking away the separate section for the historical museum and we're combining it onto a single sign. So it's not a tremendous amount, but we would talk to him, make sure that that's okay to do. My original mock-ups had a different curve. In the new one, I've matched the curve of the sign. And it's sort of what I did for the town sign. Essentially, it's printed square and flat. And when we had the signs made, I took them and I took the original sign and I used it as a guide and I routed and cut the metal. So it kept the roundness. So it's an easy thing to do to keep that shape. We can take the original sign that's there now and use that as a guide. So approval of final design, zoning department check-in for the replacement design, just to make sure. I've got a quote from the same place that made the town entry signs, $420 for a dual-sided sign. It's on aluminum, and it's then a vinyl sticker that's stuck on both sides that lasts a great deal of time. And then there's also, I wanted to have the gold actually be like the painted gold of the original sign, so they can do gold leaf highlights for that particular sign. So we could do that on the decorative illustration at the top, as well as doing the name. We'd want to renovate the signposts and the, what were they?
The finials.
The finials, and repaint it and get all that ready, double check measurements, maybe the same person who helped paint the town signs, and then do the final install. So that's where I'm at with that at the moment.
We don't have, oh, right here, you do, what they presented last week with the, I don't like the tree, but I like the building in the background. I think that's a little plain to me. I like the building in the background minus.
The building is in the background. If you stand at the sign and look that way, the building's right there.
Okay, smart ass, sick and tired.
Yeah.
Go back to the rec park and the welcome to entrance sign.
Actually, regarding.
See, those both have got something in the background. I love the welcome to Bristol one with the Deer Leap on the left, South Mountain, and then Mount Eve in the middle there, through the valley, and then the rec park's got old Big Red there. I think this is a compromise, and I think what you presented, Ian, I like the colors, I like the design of the shape. To me, it's a little plain. And I'd like to see that mock-up right there.
Woo.
With the gold, I'd like to see that with this, just this, not that tree.
And one suggestion I received today, partly in the spirit of compromise between this and what was presented last time, was to take this band of the Bristol Historical Museum, the font and the way it's framed, and use that pattern on the new sign. The Times New Roman font or whatever it is. And then it's consistent with the current, but just lowercase, like that.
Like that?
Oh, instead of it all being.
Yeah, to use this appearance.
Oh, just a capital.
Yeah, not all capitals, and with the consistent font. It's what, Times New Roman or something. Rather than two different fonts, you have Arial and there's some other.
Okay.
That was the suggestion.
Okay.
And partly offered in the spirit of compromise.
Sure, I can mock that up. Regarding the building in the background, talking to designers about that, part of the issue that they went in this direction, A, it's because it's sort of keeping the tradition of the original sign, and B, the nature of the printing and the sign itself doesn't match the history of the building. Being able to print like that, you wouldn't be able to do when the building was built, and so that's part of keeping it in a particular way.
Wouldn't be able to keep that black and white, as you're saying.
You wouldn't be able to do a photograph behind text, and so it's not within keeping of the building itself because of the age. It's a more modern printing technique, and even if you remove the tree and you got a good shot of the building, it's still, I think for me as a designer, you'd be competing too much with the text.
Yeah, I like that this is easy to read myself. As you're driving past, you can make it out easily.
Right, which is always the idea. I think the updating that font and changing it, I'm happy to do a revision of that to see what that looks like. I think it's the original, this design in terms of incorporating the title for the museum as opposed to the separate little sign, I think is a good idea. And I think we like the little illustration at the top sort of matching. I don't know where that originally came from. Does anyone know who did the original sign? There isn't any name on it or any organization that it's attributed to, but.
I did it.
You did it?
So I wonder
In your former life.
Yeah.
Mountain Signs did that. Might have Gary.
You're looking at painting the gold leaf instead of having it vinyl?
It would be vinyl on the aluminum, but they would do another treatment to do just the gold. It would be on top of that and would be sealed as part of it.
So it'd be on top of the vinyl, and then they would seal the gold leaf to the vinyl.
So it would stand out
But is
more.
it vinyl gold leaf or is it painted gold leaf?
No, it's not. Well, I think the idea is that it looks like painted, and I was because I didn't want it just to be yellow, which is what it's gonna look like, I think, if they just do it as a printed thing, because it's printing on a printer onto the vinyl. So I think it's another
Well, no,
process.
they make a gold leaf vinyl.
Oh, they do?
Yeah,
Oh, so
that's
maybe-
what's on you can go over and look at the fire trucks. That's what we use on those.
Okay. All right. I can check with the printer to see what they suggest.
Because I just, gold leaf is awful expensive. That's
No, it's not. It's not going to be a gold leaf, but it's the idea is that it's not just printed yellow, but
Gotcha.
it actually has.
Gotcha.
But maybe I'll look at the trucks and to see. So that's a vinyl, but it must be, and that's probably what they're using given the price.
Yeah.
It's probably just a particular type. Normally, he would probably just print on as a gold yellow color. This is probably something else using that. I think he's printing that separately and then putting that over the top of it. So, and maybe
So
that's
it's-
a special.
it's
that's a
gold
different-
leaf.
How does it
Gold
look?
leaf.
Does it look gold on?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Because that's what I want. That's what the original sign looks like.
I don't know if you can.
Yeah.
I got a picture of it for you.
Okay. Are you happy with me just doing a revision of the Bristol Historical Society, that font, and showing that?
Yeah.
Was there something about the framing as well, Valerie?
Oh, I see. Okay.
The framing?
All right.
Yeah. Didn't you say something about the framing they wanted as well?
Oh, just around the words, Bristol Historical Museum, just a box.
This is blue, yeah, it's purple.
Like what was originally proposed, like what was proposed by the Historical Society. Comparable.
We were there.
I mean, it's in its box now with the new
Right.
design. Do they want more of a box?
Like what's on there.
Oh, they want it lined.
They want what, the Bristol Historical Museum line?
Yeah.
Instead of being in black, leave it in white?
With a letter, with a
Well,
black.
right now it looks like a brown color, but whatever color is.
No, I mean the behind it, the background.
The background. See, that doesn't have that background on this. It's his is a white background. We want it gold letters and small caps, except those first three, of course, Bristol Historical Museum.
Yeah, I think
And then a line around it.
Yeah, I think so, or something
See
like
the
that.
square instead of the black?
So the font
Okay.
and
It might-
lowercase.
You can see what it looks like.
Yeah, no, I can mock it up. I think, the designers did this just to differentiate between the two different signs. Since they were looking at the original, where you're looking at these two separate elements, the idea is to separate them and get away from sort of more lines around it. But yeah, I can mock it up, that's fine.
Thanks, Ian.
In terms of like the repair of and the painting, would the town just hire someone to do that?
Someone like Greg? Is that what you think?
Yeah, he painted the other ones, and I think he has the skills to just do repairs to this.
I
And
would
I'll-
think. Can we get a budget number from him? I mean, I think that would be,
It looks as though it's well below the threshold for going out to
Yeah,
bids
I would
and
hope
stuff
so.
like that, yeah.
Yeah.
it better be.
Okay.
Great.
All right, so another revision to present at another meeting?
Yeah,
If we gave us approval by first meeting in September, can we have it up before the cold weather? I guess.
Hopefully. I mean, I don't think the sign that's there now is gonna last.
Right, no.
Any much longer. It's looking worse and worse, so, yeah.
We,
All right, so next meeting, is that correct?
Yeah.
That'd be September 11th.
Okay.
Thanks,
We're
Ian.
gaining. We're gaining.
Getting there.
Yes. All right. Let's see, next item, check in on select board's calendar and goals.
Yeah, that didn't, I should have mentioned it at the beginning of the meeting that we should have postponed that agenda item.
It's listed as tentative, so I think we're covered, right? All right, so moving on, review and approval of the August 14th meeting minutes.
That one too.
That one.
I like that.
I know that you
My nice
sent
old
an
fashioned.
email about that. All right, item 10. Did we miss 9? Okay, anyway, next item. Authorize accounts payable weren't in any liquor licenses or tobacco licenses.
There were no liquor.
No liquor, tobacco, and the accounts payables, $122,356.65.
Cool.
And you'll have to come in and sign there.
I thought I signed everything. Oh, did that would change, didn't it?
No, there's some more in there for you to sign.
It's all new stuff.
I came in today and signed a bunch of stuff.
Well, there's some more new stuff since you were in.
All right. That's what I get for coming in early. All right. Other business.
No, no.
No other
Back
business.
up, number 10.
Number 10. Oh, I'm sorry. All right. I'm on the TA report.
They're not numbered right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Sorry. What did I miss?
My bad.
Select board roundtable.
Oh, select board roundtable. Oh yeah, that's us. All right.
You meant to do that, right?
I did mean to do that. Sorry. Peeker, what do you got?
Lover's Lane, what's going on down there? And do they have a work in the right-of-way permit?
What is going on down there?
I don't know, they got a lot of digging going
That
on in
busybody?
construction.
Yeah.
They have a work in the right of way permit, and what they're doing is, he wants to make a ditch so that the water doesn't go on his lawn and on the septic system. So he's making a ditch along Lover's Lane down his driveway, and then I don't know where the hell it's going after it gets down on his property, I really don't care.
Well, hopefully it doesn't go into the children's center.
No, it's on his side of the driveway.
Oh, okay.
Or orchard, whatever that.
So
road's
it is,
called.
I mean, it looks like he's cut right up to the edge of the road.
Yeah.
He has.
So what,
And I've gone down there and talked to him.
so you're on it. If you're on it, that's all I care about.
He didn't have the
I
right
wrote
of way, now he
it,
does.
he came in, filled out a permit, I filled my part out as far as stipulations and what I want done on the side of the road, and then I signed it, and
Yeah, cause there's no shoulder there now.
no, I asked for at least an 18-inch shoulder with gravel. And then anything over a foot deep, cause he mentioned in the ditch, depending on where it was gonna be, it could be 2 feet deep. I said, anything over a foot needs stone. And then other than that, it can be grassed. So.
I come by and I see that hole and
And
I'm
I did go down, you see the pile that's up there?
Yeah.
I went down and talked to him, well, not him, but her, the second time, and asked about the pile that's there, and I said, that pile can't stay there. Said, if it's in the right of way, it needs to be outside of the right of way. If it's outside of the right of way, I don't care what you do with it, but it can be in the right of way. And she says that it's just stockpile in there for now. I said, all right, I'm good with that. So.
He's such a nice guy.
So far. I have a new loader, I can go down and make all sorts of mess with.
That's all I have.
That's all you have. Joel?
Sidewalks, when we did sidewalks, did we do East Street last year?
The year before.
Year before.
And that's why I mentioned earlier. How do we ever think we're gonna catch up if we only do sidewalks about every third year?
Well, if you, in my notes, I mentioned that Richard Boots and I sat in on a presentation last week with Madison Shropshire from the Addison County Regional Planning Commission. Earlier
Right, I saw that.
this year, she had some student interns from Middlebury College use an app,
Right, I
and
saw
they
that.
inventoried the entire village sidewalk system, or most of it. Pretty much most of it.
Everything except Pine Street.
And we hadn't heard anything for quite a while, and this was an opportunity to see what they did. I was blown away. I really was. My jaw was point down, and it's very impressive what they did. And what we're going to be able to use it for is to come up with a new sidewalk replacement plan, because I've mentioned a few times that the one that has been in place since 2017, it doesn't seem to really reflect what the priorities are. And I was looking for some way to update it. We have the Bike Ped Committee now, and I was hoping to engage them in developing a new plan. And so with this information, I think it's going to be much easier to do, and it'll be very clear. It really shows where the priority areas are, and that's what I was needing to do. Because I didn't have clear direction on what the next projects needed to be.
I know, I think that's gonna be great help, but we still have a need to put sidewalks in, and we've been 3 years not doing any, and we got some really bad ones, we think, from Maple to West Pleasant on West Pleasant, or Maple to Munsell on West Pleasant. I just don't wanna wait for a plan to keep, I realize the plan's gonna help us a lot, but 3 years was quite a while to wait.
It hasn't been 3 years.
It was 2 years.
Or 2 years.
Yeah.
But it'll be 3 years before we pour any again.
Yeah, well, you gotta get people to bid on it too. That was our biggest
Right.
problem the
You
last
don't
time.
put them, if you don't put them out to bid, you can't get
No,
people
I
to
get
bid.
it, but
Michelle.
I'm just
Well, we
saying,
did
the
put one
East
out to,
Street,
before the East Street one, we
Right.
did put one out to bid. We got one bid back and it was outrageous.
Right, I remember that.
So we did, we tried.
Yeah.
And
And
just to remind you that, last year there were some issues.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
I was out of commission for a while, so some
And it
things
doesn't
just
all
didn't,
have to fall on your plate
but
either.
it does.
I
And
know.
it couldn't happen, so it is what it is.
And then, I saw Darla's respond or something about, the residents, Garfield Building and the residents on, Mountain Street. I think they deserve a response. from
They
Val,
know.
Val sent a
Val did.
response.
I did like that response, I really did. Just, I think maybe Darla, maybe a note from you as the chair, that, follow up from what Valerie said, maybe.
There's not much we can tell them.
No, or just.
No, but there should have been a response to the initial email from 2 weeks ago.
Well, it wasn't really to us.
I know,
It was
but-
a copy of their email.
For you, I
Somebody.
thought I read it for your information, is
Right.
the way she sent it to us.
That's how I interpreted it.
Part of it said, if you really care, or you believe in.
Right, but there wasn't any response, even just thank you for this information, which doesn't look good for us as a town.
And I'm not blaming anybody here at the board, it's just that it should come from someone that we.
I'm happy to write something to Mary.
heard you.
I'll copy everyone on it.
Yeah, okay, and that's all I had, and like I said.
And that discussion is ongoing, it's at the sort of the DRB at the moment, and I know that residents have been attending those meetings. So there's sort
Yeah,
of
they
two,
had quite the outpour last week.
yeah, two things going on with that. There's sort of information coming to us at the select board level, but also it's in discussion at the development review board, so.
Which is the one that can make that decision
Correct,
and not us.
yeah.
Right, exactly, and I'll be the first
It's
to
my
inform.
understanding that the site plan application was denied at the last meeting, so there's really not much more to do unless he comes back with a different proposal.
I mean, and I really drawn a blank, not looking down that way in that street, when I go up that street, don't go up that street very often, but tonight I walked out in the backyard, and I went, oh, that's just all I did was wall.
Yeah. Oh, it is a wall.
Yeah.
It is a wall, but unfortunately,
Yeah,
the
it's
only thing out of compliance, the way our zoning is that 200 extra feet.
Of width, not height.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, so, okay, that's all I had.
I mean, I just don't, as long as they follow the rules, it sucks to be the neighbors, it really does. But they followed the rules.
Yeah.
With the
There-
exception,
there-
with the
yes, there were
exception
some
of
mistakes
that.
made, but
Yeah.
in terms of the design, what the building looks like and how it's clad and things like that, so our zoning regulations don't specify
cover
that.
it. Yeah.
And you can build up to 35 feet in height as well, in that area, so.
Yeah.
I don't know. You can't control everything.
It sucks, it really does,
Yeah.
but,
Yeah.
they're within their rights, and.
Well, and our zoning can't be that limited to
No.
a certain degree either, because then you're discriminating.
Yeah.
So.
That's all I had.
And to reiterate, my response to her was that neither I nor the select board have any role,
Correct.
really, in zoning administration unless it's personnel related
Right.
or litigation related. And litigation in terms of having the select board determine to what degree to defend something or to take action against something, to enforce the regulations. But that's really the limited role for the select board in zoning administration. And the state statutes are designed that way purposefully.
Okay. That's all I had.
Michelle?
Actually, the only question I have is revolving loan fund revisions. I know you were gonna work on doing some formatting and stuff.
I think he did,
I did.
and the last I shared that with Anthony and Sharon. Anthony has not had the capacity to look at that, and so the next step I had been planning to take was to send that on to the Addison County Economic Development Corp for their review, and I just haven't done that yet.
Okay, because it's been like
I know.
almost 3 years.
It's been a long time.
So,
Yeah.
and Fred keeps asking me, so. I'm like,
Fred's contacted us too.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, and I've been waiting on finalizing or having those finalized loan documents in whatever form they end up being, and to circle back around with the West Street property owners to make sure that that revolving loan fund in its updated form is accessible to them if they choose to use it.
yeah.
So that's been the whole.
So I don't think, I mean, at this point, I almost would say just send it off. Don't
Yeah,
wait for
oh
the-
yeah, I'm going
because we're
to.
not-
It's-
He's
yeah.
just not gonna do it at this
Yeah.
point.
Anything else, Michelle?
No, that's it for me, thanks.
And Ian?
I'd like to thank Bristol Corps for hosting Pocock Rocks last Saturday. I'd like to thank Bristol Police Department for lending their support for the event as well. I heard it was a great event. I wasn't able to attend due to a health reason, but I heard it was very good. I actually did get some drone shots, and it looked like there were a lot of people there, so that was good.
Great. Anything else?
And the rain held. I know, it didn't rain.
The rain. Is that it?
Yes, thank you.
Great, thanks. And I was gonna just say the same thing about Pocock, that it's I wasn't able to attend either, but from all the reports I heard, people really enjoyed it, and there was a great turnout. So I appreciate that very much. Thanks for all that work. All righty. And then let's see, the last thing we had here under other business. Oh, I'm sorry.
Nope, town
I'm jumping
administrator.
around. Town administrator's report. Sorry, I'm all over the place.
I have nothing to add to the written report.
All right. Now we can go on to other business.
Perfect.
All right. So correspondence, documents, and reports received. Anything to add there?
Posted online, available to the select board was the budget status report through June 30th, the most current version available, and also the letter we received from the surveyor who surveyed the property along the New Haven River.
And the VLCT town.
Oh, and the VLCT Town Fair delegation. Yes, thank you for reminding me of that.
And Darrell, I did have one more thing, actually, sorry.
Go right ahead.
Just throwing this out there, just sometimes, our meetings we look up and it's 11 o'clock and we gotta get out of here, and we're gonna make decisions that we really think we should think about more, so I'll keep this short. I wonder if we should look at, now we have 7 or 8 department heads that give us a report, not all of them do every night, I realize. And, 5-minute roundtable or department head, a couple of minutes. I wonder if we split that up, just don't answer tonight, think about it, and maybe come back in a few weeks or months to tell me. Do half of them so once a month they report instead of every other week. Just a thought.
Yeah, I mean, I think they've been a little bit better recently. I've been trying to hold people to their, I try to state that it's 5 minutes or so. So I think it's been a little bit better, but I hear what you're saying, Joel.
Okay.
I can think more about that.
Val, I have some questions on the budget status report, so I'm just gonna email them, but I'll email them to you. Should I email them to Anthony too?
Email them to me first.
Okay.
To be honest, I haven't had a chance to go through the whole thing yet.
Okay.
Okay. So delegation for you?
Sure.
Yeah.
You said you weren't going to attend? Do
I
we still want to
hadn't planned
delegate
on
you?
it, but in the event that I do,
Okay,
to
so
have me be
you'd
the
still
delegate,
like to be delegated?
just in case.
Okay.
So moved.
Second.
Okay.
Well,
those in
yeah,
favor?
jumped on that one.
Yeah. Any other discussion?
Yeah, I have a question about the Mashak survey, when the timing is appropriate for that, so.
Now's the time.
Now's the
Oh,
time.
wait, we gotta
Well,
vote.
let's
Oh,
just vote
that's right,
to
sorry.
put Valerie through. So all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, anyone opposed?
I did, or Peter, or Ian.
All 3 of them.
Peter made the motion, Joel second.
I added Darla, if you can't go, Darla's gonna go.
Hello.
You're not in the room, Darla.
I am. But I am, Joel. But I am.
You are.
Okay.
All right,
so
I'm
yeah,
sorry.
we wanna-
Yep, the gentleman in the back had a question.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a little confused by that letter. I wonder if you read it, you people on the select board, and how was it, who requested that? I was curious why that particular letter was, why the surveyor was hired to do that.
Because the state wrote us a letter saying they wanted determination whether it was truly in the flood zone or not. So.
And just for the record, I'm thinking that's Randy back there. Can you say
Yeah,
your
it is,
name?
Randy Duran. Yes, I'm sorry, Randy Duran.
Yeah.
I live in Rockdale.
Yeah.
And so the letter says that the determination was 563 feet for that base flood elevation. And the floor of the cabin was at 570, so it's above that.
Floodplain.
But is the cabin does it matter if the cabin is in the flood hazard area or not? That's a big question that I have, and I've had this for about 3 years because it appears that the cabin is in the floodplain, therefore it's a determination made by the Board of Adjustment Design Review Board today, but it's their call on it, and if it's not in the flood hazard area, then it's the zoning administrator's call, but it seems to be in the flood hazard area. Absolutely. So I don't understand why the Design Review Board didn't get a chance to deal with this application, which was, if you want a little context, it's a camp that went in 2019, and then it was commented on by some in the neighborhood that, hey, look, there's a camp over there. I thought originally this area was wilderness, but it wasn't. It was 11 acres owned by, it's a parcel owned by someone in Heinsberg. And the camp went in, and then a year later, the permit approval was submitted. And it was, it included a couple of maps that the camp owner provided, and the zoning administrator looked at the map and thought that, yeah, it's outside the flood hazard area. So, okay, permit approved. Does it really matter if the camp is in the flood hazard area? Is this worth
That'll be up
looking
to
into?
Kyle to decide from the state. You know, he asked for specific information, and that is what Tim gave him, so that's really up to what the state says.
Yes, but the letter doesn't say where the camp was located. It just says the elevation. Now, if the cabin floor is 570 feet and the base elevation is 563, then there would be a 7-foot drop from the floor to the base elevation. There should be. There isn't. It's a 2-foot drop. So that information is confusing. I mean, if it's a base elevation in that area at 563 and the cabin floor is at 570, then there should be 7 feet below that floor to the ground.
Well,
it's 2 feet.
But I'm just coming in here blind, is it? The 563, wherever that elevation is the cabin floor is 7 feet out of the flood zone? So they're saying the flood water is up at 563, if it ever did? Am I reading that right, Michelle, or?
Well, that would be 5 feet below the surface of the ground that the flood level was produced at. I think that number doesn't work. So what I'm suggesting here is have the surveyor, if this makes sense to you, have the surveyor determine where that cabin is, because the zoning administrator said it's outside the flood zone. If you look at the FEMA maps, Zone A for 100-year floods, Zone B for 500-year floods, that distance from the bank is about 160 feet. So that's all floodplain right there. The cabin is, if you measure it from across the river with a rangefinder, is about 60 feet from the bank. So if the floodplain area is 160 feet wide and the cabin is 60 feet from the bank, then it seems to me it's in the floodplain, and therefore it should be going to the design review board. This is a very confusing thing, why this approval happened with the location of the cabin where it is.
Well, unfortunately, the permit's been issued, we can't renege on the permit, so.
Kevin Brown said that if there's an error has been made, and Chris said if the maps are incorrect, then it's could be revisited. It's not like a done deal.
But, and also the bank, the bank changes over time, so I don't know for the floodplain maps where the bank was back then, but, I mean, we'd have to figure this out with Tim, if that's even something that the letter from the state gave specific information. If that's what they wanted to know, that's what Tim gave them. So I'd have to reread the letter and talk to Tim to see if that's what he provided to them. If they didn't, Randy, I don't know I don't recall what the letter said, whether they needed to know if it was actually in the floodplain or if they just needed to know the elevation. I understood they needed the elevation.
That's all that
So,
there is.
Yeah. So I don't know,
But if it's in the floodplain, then isn't that an issue?
I don't know. That's really what the state's gonna have to tell us.
I remember doing a project in Lincoln where the corner of the house was, and I don't know if this has any relevance at all. But I did a foundation for a house and the corner was in the floodplain, and they made them jot the foundation and stick a post out there where they were still able to build over it. But they couldn't put the foundation under the house there.
Yes, and I think that's the reasoning, or the reason for the short survey is to see if it was a legal height for that floor at 570, because that's above the base. Yeah, but all the stuff on the ground is still in the flood zone. I mean, the outhouse that's there between the cabin and the river is right on the ground, and the shelter logic things and this and that, it's all right on it. So, and if you look at the flood regs, no structures unless there's a conditional use, which is determined by the zoning review, the design review board. It's not the administrator's call if it's a structure going into a flood hazard area. It's definitely a flood hazard area. It's definitely a structure. What do you do? I'd like to see it. Kristen Underwood did a study on this, sent a letter to a few of you. I think Baker, you got that. I think Valerie, you got that letter, and said, yeah, it's in the floodplain. And here's where the zoning administrator's determination was just slightly outside, but her determination on the digital maps that are available at Addison County Regional, but not available locally. Chris mentioned this, but they are out there. She used that and said, here's the cabin, about 60 feet from the river. It's in the flood zone. But, it's still there. I mean, it's not in compliance with the flood regulations, which then may bring into an issue of the flood insurance, whether if something happens and the town isn't in compliance with the flood regs, they might have to help them out. If they're not in compliance, they're not enforcing these regs. So it's a question.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thanks,
I'm gonna
Randy.
have to go see this place.
I do too.
Tell you, my mother-in-law, Rob, was shocked when he came to him and said, put the driveway down through there. He goes, wow, didn't know they didn't want that.
Yeah, there wasn't a notice that's supposed to be out there, that there's a structure going in.
They had a right away for his property.
It just appeared.
All right, thank you, Randy.
Thank you, Randy.
Thanks. Okay, any other business? We talked about the budget, we talked about this letter, we talked about the designation for the delegates. I think we're all set there.
Yep.
All right.
Darla, did I understand you to say that you were actually planning to go to the VLCT meeting?
I did not.
Yeah.
No, no. Joel volunteered me.
Don't let me stand in the way.
I hadn't planned on it. I can still put it that way. But Joel has an itch to go, I think.
Sounds that way, doesn't it?
Joel's gonna take a personal day and do it.
So we have an executive session.
Yes,
is that
we do.
We
correct?
do have an executive session.
Okay, make a motion, we enter into executive session to discuss personnel and, is there anything else?
Not unless you have anything to update us on the real estate.
Personnel and possible contract negotiations.
Second.
Right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for coming this evening.
Thank you.
We invite Eric to be included.
And what about?
Hey, Jimmy.
Say a word,
Aye.
either. I'm hoping you.
I know. Hoping to escape.
Night, Bruce.
Well, you may not like our
Aye,
decision
Jimmy.
if you don't get
Aye,
input.
Bruce.
What about Bridger?
Nothing.
Okay.
The same thing about Richard.
Okay. Well,